This is a topic that I've been covering for quite a long time. Like at this point, it's quite a tired topic. But regardless, I still think that it's an important topic. Actually, a really, really important topic. In fact, if this topic is not discussed, if we cannot reach a consensus on this topic as a whole in the liberal establishment, then I fear that this will be the end of our democracy. Basically, it is, should we break the rules to fight the rule breakers? Okay. So on one side, it is, well, we should break the rules in order to fight the rule breakers, because no matter what kind of rules that you make, the rule breakers will always find a way to skirt around, find loopholes, and ignore the rules. And on the other side, it's like, it's a slippery slope, because if you break the rules too much, then you could embrace that darkness yourself. Okay. That is essentially the steel man of the two sides, where it's like, one is, we need to be able to take drastic actions in order to counter this illiberal invasion of Republicans and MAGA, and the moderates, or the more like less about the violent side, I guess, are the people going essentially, well, we would rather not, because if you break the rules to defeat the other side, then you're not going to have anything left to defend. Okay. And that's probably more credit than I'm giving them. Okay. If anything. So yeah. All right. Good luck.
The necessity for big solutions, but will articulate a set of remedies that I have not agreed with in many cases. Very simply put, I think they are going way too far and with very little meaningful consideration of how these measures will be seen by the voters who will decide if Democrats should keep power in the period following the next trifecta that we win. My opponents will jump from the system is currently being threatened.
Unpopular, but I'm with Hutch on this, and I would probably say you're incorrect, because I'm with Destiny on this.
Straight to, therefore, all bets are off on how we choose to constrain those who threaten it. And they might suggest that if you disagree with this analysis, you don't fully appreciate the threat. You're not, or that you're naive, you're optics cucked, you don't fully understand the stakes, that any remedies less forceful than what they will propose, which basically amount to varying levels of explicitly weaponizing the system itself, are tantamount to surrender, either weaponize or surrender. There is a really, this is a really straightforward false dichotomy. These are definitely not your only two options when confronted with a destabilizing and corrupt movement like MAGA. And there are many historical examples we can look to understand just how much can be done in between weaponizing and surrendering. Trump is uniquely awful for a number of reasons, but he's definitely not the first world leader that has tried to erode the system meant to constrain him. So we do have a number of roadmaps set by other countries who have survived such threats and went on to become healthier, functional democracies. My opponents might reference Brazil and South Korea as examples of how democracy should deal with these kinds of threats. But both of these cases will strengthen my argument that harsh or strong actions coupled with reforms within the system represent the clearest path back to something resembling.
I know that this is meant to be like the final battle, but like, I'm going to be real. There's probably going to be like an infinite amount of these discussions going forward, because I don't think Hutch lets anything go, especially not this. I just don't think Hutch will let this go. I've seen him obsessively cover Hassan. I think I've seen him obsessively cover all of this. So yeah, I have no hope.
Healthy or normal. In Brazil, Bolsonaro's attempts to subvert democracy empowered a pro-democracy coalition to take power from him democratically. And the courts used harsh but entirely constitutional actions to constrain him. In South Korea, after their leader tried to do a swift power grab, it was the legislature and courts that used constitutionally permissible actions to constrain him. But the courts did not rubber stamp every move the legislature tried. There were still functional checks in place to block the legislature from doing whatever they wanted. In neither case did political parties abandon their commitment to democracy and liberal principles in the course of their actions to rein in those would-be tyrants. My opponents might fatalistically suggest that the moment we are currently in represents something analogous to Germany in the late 20s or Italy in the early 20s. These are extremely flawed analogs because both Italy and Germany had structural weaknesses that made them more vulnerable to those takeovers. Germany had been crippled enough by the Treaty of Versailles, so they were among the hardest hit countries in the world when the Great Depression hit.
Okay, he's reading off of an essay, but this is honestly not that important. I think I should just save some time, get to the actual discussion. Yeah.
Get rid of mail-in voting, for example. And the courts are not the only check that's on this president. You can argue that the courts are tilted in his favor. Obviously they are. And so, you know, you might have, I could grant you everything that you're about to say, but they have like told him no on a number of occasions. And so far he has not just like blatantly ignored a Supreme Court ruling.
Hutch, real quick, I'm sorry.
Even the Congress right now, he's been pushing the Congress to pass the Stay Act without a filibuster for like a number of weeks now. And they continuously are saying no.
Let's just hold on real quick. And Josiah agrees with this too. Nobody is saying that Trump has been able to act completely lawlessly, completely independent of all the courts ever. All of us agree that the courts are restricted to some extent. Okay. Nobody's saying that like he's completely defied all the courts ever, but he has made huge gains lawlessly. And the courts kind of sort of check him, but it's after a long period of time where he's already secured the political gains from the illegal actions. If we do believe that the Supreme Court was correct in ruling that the tariffs are illegal, he's collected $300 billion.
He didn't collect the benefit of getting rid of mail-in ballots before that happened. They're going to strike that down.
Well, wait a minute. We don't know. Wait a minute. We don't know. So you're talking about the oral arguments that happened the other day in front of the Supreme Court. My take on that is they were actually pretty favorable towards that mail-in vote challenge.
That's not what I was reading, but
at least with like ballots that were received after Election Day, even if they were postmarked before. Which maybe that's not the full Monty, but that would certainly restrict some level of mail-in voting. And that case hasn't even been decided yet. But
hold on. Can I? I just want to make a. I just like sure. I have been hearing this over and over and over again, and it's just
to me, I'm just going to say that I just find it like absolutely ridiculous that we can like hand wave the idea that the Supreme Court didn't.
Oh yeah, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but this guy's on something, man. I don't know if all not so erudite fans are like this, but man,
take Trump's centrist.
You'll see. Do you also purr? I don't know how to purr. I'm sorry. I think. Yeah, I don't know how to purr.
Central economic platform that he is out on 500 limbs on, completely gut it and like hang him by his fucking petard in the middle of everyone. Like we can talk like, do we act like we talk about it like, oh well, he collected money for a year, and it's like, is that what Trump wanted to do? Was that the goal? What did that, or is his base looking at that going like, man, I really like that they collected taxes on us? Like, is it Trump was trying to onshore manufacturing? He was trying to secure deals. He was trying to win, and like literally,
tariffs aren't doing any of that.
In the weeks following, we've already had countries basically say, okay, our deal's off.
So the tariffs weren't reshoring manufacturing, number one. Our tariffs weren't reshoring manufacturing, number one. Number two, they were extremely unpopular with the majority of Americans, including not a majority of Republican MAGA cultists, but like an increasing number of Republicans. Number three, they were exacerbating inflation. And this goes to the point. Is the Supreme Court dispositionally loyal to Trump? Yes. But no one's saying that they're absolute puppets of him. The fact of the matter is they managed to min-max this in the perfect way. They dragged their feet to take up the challenge. They considered it for a lengthy period of time. They refused to stay the tariffs, which they could have done and would have done had it been a Democratic initiative, again, like student loan forgiveness, and even the Department of Labor's vaccine mandate that Biden tried to implement, test or vaccine. They stayed that shit instantly. But here's the other thing. They were also saving their own ass. It was bad for their pocketbooks. And they may have done Trump a solid with respect to the election. If the tariffs had continued unabated, and we don't know what had happened with this Iran war, it may have led to further political disaster for Trump. So again, I'm not going to give the Supreme Court a standing ovation for this. And by the way, this is the one instance that I can think of, other than the Kilmar-Abrego-Garcia thing, which was kind of a half-assed, no, you don't have to, you have to effectuate it, but you don't have to enforce it. They tried to parse through this. Trump dragged his feet with complying with that. This is not a court that has a habit of checking Trump.
I think that I'll go ahead and say that like
the guardrails talking point is really stupid, because you're only saying this because the guardrails are holding, but I can easily see an alternate timeline in which the guardrails are not holding, and so therefore your argument does not make any sense. That's it. That's why your argument does not make any sense, because I'm able to see a timeline in which the guardrails do not hold, because we're put on the defensive for, you know, having our democracy dismantled. That's why this argument is invalid to me, because just as much as there were cases where Trump was prevented from doing something, there were just as much cases where Trump was allowed to do something, and there's also cases where Trump just straight up defies the Supreme Court, right? Talking about when the airplanes were not turned back for Kilmar-Abrego-Garcia related stuff, like the migrants being shipped off to El Salvador, right? Blatant disrespect for the ruling of the Supreme Court, 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, right?
Yes, I think that the court's ideology, I think that the three conservatives that voted against tariffs have a consistent ideology that I think will often err on Trump's side more. But I guess I just disagree that those three in any way are considering Trump's political agenda. Here's the thing. I will say, I'll name names. I think Kavanaugh is like in space. I think Thomas is probably overtly corrupt. Like I'm not going to deny those things. But like Gorsuch himself quite literally says like, hey,
the court isn't just standing behind Trump. Well, they're not. But like what they do right now might as well, right? No, fuck it. In fact, no, I don't think that language is strong enough. I'll make it stronger. I think that the court is behind Trump. Yes, I do think so. Okay? I think so. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, like, didn't Alito's wife hang up, like, a MAGA flag or some shit, like, in her fucking house? Like, outside or some shit? Like, which Supreme Court justice was that? Yeah, that's insane.
This logic shot down student loans. So this is what we committed to, and we're going to shoot down tariffs. Like, I guess this, like, additional motivation for the Supreme Court to, like, save Trump from himself, to justify the idea that actually Trump can't do anything he wants, and in fact is kind of like completely caught out in the middle of the entire world after using these to bully nations, and now has no economic platform and has skipped to his final, what's usually the final like sundown foreign policy years. He's jumped straight to that immediately because he has nothing left. And we also, go into yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say also, like, you guys are making the case for reform.
And then she doesn't really want me to stop though.
Love the glasses.
Bro, man, thank you so much for the $5. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was worse than a MAGA flag. I think it was like Stop the Steal or something. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, there you go. That's insane. Yeah, that's nuts.
That's what you're doing. We should reform the court. We should take aggressive action to reform this court.
Go ahead.
Like,
I don't care if I don't care if it was your wife that put it up. Okay, it's your house, you live in it. Okay, might as well have been you, but you blamed your wife.
That's a different argument than.
Am I hearing Andrew Wilson? It's Andrew Wilson's real voice. What are you talking about?
We should further erode the system.
Destiny has before the reform arguments, like the
NASA Erudite was the reason I couldn't watch Bridges. Oh, I can't finish a single episode of Bridges. I literally cannot finish a single episode.
I just don't see how this is a loss that you can do a thing that, like, if we agree with the Supreme Court's ruling, that the Supreme Court ruled correctly, what they've said in effect is that the whole last year of tariff stuff was illegal. What was the punishment for that? He got to collect a lot of money. He blew up like all world trade with the United States. He made enemies with so many people around the world. He has gotten corrupt. He's running this like weird quasi oligarchical thing where now people have to go to him individually to plead and beg for certain companies to get some reprieve from the tariffs. He got to collect all of the benefits from that for a year plus. The Supreme Court has finally narrowly checked him on IEPA or whatever tariffs, and now he switched immediately to another thing that gives him the ability to 50% tariff everything else until we get another ruling on that in a year or two or three.
Well, but those tariffs are like that law calls out tariffs, says the president has, et cetera, and the other law that so he's not citing the law that demands review. He's citing the law that's 15 for like whatever, however many days.
You open the pickle jar? No. But I'm sure that there's plenty of girls who can open the pickle jar, okay?
But we gotta understand, his tariff regime is over. He's not gonna be...
But it got to exist for a year plus.
And what does he have now? What does he have now?
Well, he has trade relations with the entire world. He got like $250 billion off of it, and the money's probably never going back to the American public. And now he's just doing something else.
This is where it's like, is Trump's goal just like legitimately, I want to destroy America? Or is he a martyr that believes that if I take on the other nations, I'll get something out of it? Like, what is he gaining from this? Other than like,
it's not so much what he's gaining. It's that if you can hop from thing to thing, you only have 4 years in office. If you in effect get everything you want, and then at the end of the 4 years, the Supreme Court said that everything you've done is illegal, then, well, I mean, you got to do all your shit anyway. Who cares? Like, keep it up.
I mean, if you want to take another perspective on it, like all of the countries were like, yeah, sure, dude, we'll give you a framework, and they didn't give him anything. He got literally nothing.
Why?
Who's this punishing Chafferdonos? How so?
Sucks for us, but
go ahead, Hutch, and then Jessiah.
Why is the Supreme Court being institutionally biased towards conservatives in the Republican Party right now? Like, which I'm sure everybody agrees with. Why is that automatically a justification that we should further erode the system, that we should replicate the tactics of Trump?
I'm not necessarily saying that, I don't know what we're talking about for replicating or what the solutions would be. I'm just saying that this is a weird notion. There's no other part on the planet, or there's no other form of civil law or criminal law. We would say accountability is you got to do a bad thing for a year, and then they told you to stop doing the bad thing, but you get to collect all the pros of the bad thing that you did for the past year. Like, Donald Trump, I will say this. All the pros of the past year of tariffs and everything else that resulted from that. Now they put a stop to that particular way that he did it. Now he hopped over to another law that you say has review. We'll see if the Republicans in Congress actually,
and his family's been enriched. To Stephen's point there, his family's also been enriched as a consequence of leveraging these tariffs. There are other countries that are in the process of building Trump resorts and golf courses because he hit them with a tariff, in 2025, and then in exchange for, a golf resort here or a golf club there, he takes the tariff off. I think it was India, for example, just off the top of my head. So it's not just the tariff regime was foolish from the beginning. Again, it increased inflation. He didn't get his 90 deals in 90 days. He had very little to show for it, but that's what he wanted, whatever the motivation was. And he got to do it for a year, and he personally benefited from it.
No, I'll agree with the idea.
This is going to be something that's talked about over the course of this debate. I already watched it, okay, but, most of it. And one of the things that is going to be talked about is what is considered to be Trump winning, right? Is Trump winning because he gets to complete a bad move, or is Trump winning because he gets to do the bad move in the first place, right? Stephen's side argues that Trump is winning because he got to do the bad move in the first place. And Hutch's side is arguing, well, Trump is interrupted in the middle of his bad move. So therefore, the harm was not really that much of a big deal. I wholly disagree with that. In my opinion, I think the fact that it's being done in the first place is a loss. Because you're enabling the normalization of illiberal fascistic activities, and that in of itself is a harm that is not measured in numbers yet.
That Trump probably ludicrously benefited from it, but the underlying idea is or at least one of the things I was responding to with this is this idea that you can't regulate bad faith actors, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at what we're seeing right now, and I know we can at the end what he has left is what the regulation allows him. And when I say his tariff regime is done, he's not going to other countries and making demands about a 15% tariff. He's not on whim saying this and that, which was the whole premise of the IEPA tariffs, right? And I get that there's always going to be something, but we've literally never had a Trump before. I never had a Trump 2, never had a Trump 1. I know but this idea that we can just infinitely hop between laws and there's always going to be something that allows the president to do whatever, the word precedent exists for a reason. We do close these things with precedent. And with that being said, you
think Trump tries to stop the election in 28? It's already happening. Why did Trump want the Minnesota voter information, right? He wants it so then he is able to explore options to invalidate it.
I'm in favor of putting more liberals in the Supreme Court. Not necessarily in favor of packing courts, but I am in favor of putting more liberals in the Supreme Court that would stay the tariff order.
How would we do that?
Well,
How do we do that without packing the courts? I'm sorry.
Before we move on,
I just mean like win
Okay,
elections.
hold on. We got a lot of places to go, and I think Hutch asked a question earlier that I'm really curious about, and I know how to like.
We shouldn't just breeze past that. I mean, like, why, how can you justify jumping straight from? You're laying out a very real problem. Like, I don't think anybody on this panel disagrees with the structural imbalance, the institutional bias towards the Republican Party right now. But that's not enough for me to say we should, copy what Trump is doing or emulate his sort of, I would just say, like, open corruption, open weaponization.
He tried stopping it in 2020. I mean, I would argue that he has already laid like 8 years or 4 years at least worth of groundwork for it. Including even the election that he won, because even the election he won, he said that there's still fraud, but they were just too big to win. That's it. Oh, too big to rig. That's what he said, right? That he won so hard. He was supported by so many people that they were just not able to rig it, even though they tried rigging it. That's literally, in a way, election interference, in my opinion, because you are essentially devaluing the act of voting by saying something like that. You're discouraging people from voting. You're discouraging the act of democracy by doing that, right? In my opinion, yeah, like that counts. Okay.
Why are you jumping straight to that? Like, what is the justification for that?
Because if we don't agree on this point, then everything else fails. Do you think, I can't speak for Josiah, but like, do you think that if a president comes in and they abuse an exploit for 1 year, they get checked on it, and then so in the second year they find another exploit to abuse, they get checked on it, third year they exploit another thing, and then fourth year they exploit another thing, and by the end of those 4 years, they got to exploit a different thing every single year, but it got checked on and patched, and then the next president comes in. Was that a successful functionality of the system? If the last president was like that,
I think it was Shorfa Ataku that said this later on, but he said that the reason why this is objectively good for Trump is because essentially Trump went through the hero's journey, right? Every single time he gets beaten down, he rises back up. Every single time he gets prosecuted, he takes revenge on the prosecutors at some point, okay? In MAGA's eyes, Trump is an action hero because he falls down time and time again, but because you don't actually complete the punishment, because you don't actually finish what you started, right? When it comes to prosecuting him, what happens is that now it just looks like you're trying to get him on anything, but it keeps failing because he's legitimately innocent, even though we know he's not innocent, right? Which is why people keep on cheering for him, all right? So you basically position him to become the perfect victim, the person who is constantly being hounded by the world, all right, but rises back up time and time again. Okay, you've made Trump into Lisan al-Gaib, essentially. Okay, you've given him the hero's journey. That's horrible because you essentially made him look like a real hero when you do something like that in the eyes of MAGA, right? That's what happens when you don't finish a punishment with him.
That's a weakened system.
Is that the system working as intended? Do you think it was good that the system at least checked the guy? Because in my world,
it is working as intended, but it is weakened. But that's not an institution being weakened is not in and of itself a justification to step outside of the boundaries of the system to address that problem.
It sounds like you guys are saying that as long as you're checked eventually, and the check is to tell you to stop doing the bad thing you've had a huge benefit from. Like for us, it doesn't work that way. If I violate a contract, they don't just say stop violating it. There are real damages, there are liquidated damages, there might be penalty clauses built in. If I break the law, let's say that I scammed somebody and I broke the law, not only are there criminal penalties, I'm going to pay restitution to the victim. I can't keep all the money that I made. But for the president,
what are you asking us to do? What are you asking us to agree to?
I'm just saying is, like, it seems like the MIDI, I think, made the argument that the Supreme Court did a really good job at eventually shooting down the tariffs. But in my mind, the damage has been done. That's not accountability that we got screwed there. They won. That was good for them. They won on that.
He's wanting to know if you regard it as a meaningful check, which he and I don't.
Well, I mean, it is undeniably meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, you could say it's insufficient. You could say it's insufficient and that it's leaving space for like personal enrichment, and that a court that would allow and not say things and allow illegal things to operate would be enabling personal enrichment. I'm totally okay with admitting that. I want more of the liberals on the Supreme Court. I want more people that would stop that. I want more ACBs and I want less Kavanaughs. Like the reason I'm talking about the tariffs the way that they are is not to say that like that was an ideal response or that was great, that was awesome, good job Supreme Court. Like I have a lot of resentment towards a lot of what the Supreme Court does. What I'm trying to say there is that
Can I ask your question? I just want to speak something. Okay, let's say, because this is what it all comes down to for my last question. Let's say that Trump would have known, all the Republicans would have known, that on day one, if they do the tariffs, the Supreme Court would block them eventually in a year and a half. Do you think they still would have gone through with it? Because in my mind, the answer is obviously yes, and that's the problem.
Yes.
Well, yeah, probably, but again,
expand on the question more. Like, what do you mean? If they
knew that by the time this gets through the Supreme Court, they're probably going to rule against us and peel them back.
Yes, because the action in of itself is a victory. Okay, that's why. It's because the benefits that are acquired during that time, acting like a mafia boss and solidifying power within the executive branch, is a victory in of itself. Okay, even if you didn't manage to finish it, the fact that you even managed to get that going in the first place is already a victory for yourself.
Would they still have enacted the tariffs?
Oh, not if they stayed at day one, but if they knew that after it all.
I agree with you there. But so they would have still done the thing, but then that goes to my
I don't think so.
argument.
I don't think so.
You don't think
No.
they would have gotten repealed?
I think Trump and his people genuinely truly thought they could get away with it. Unironically.
No, but that doesn't. So maybe I'm confused now. Maybe I misunderstood because I thought you first said yes and then no. So do you think if they knew, kind of like how in Stephen's opening, he gave the example of when Trump was trying to overturn the 2020 election and the lunatics in his like legal advisory team were like, we'll just flagrantly violate the ECA. And yes, it'll go down, 6-3, 7-2, 9-0, but we should do it anyway to buy time. His question is, do you think if Trump had known the Supreme Court will eventually strike down your IEPA tariffs, would Trump have done it anyway? Do you agree?
But this is where like Eastman is not Miller, is not Hegseth, is not Trump. I genuinely think that the Eastman and them.
I understand. Can you answer the question? Like, no, I'm asking you to just give me a yes or no.
Sorry, you're right. What I'm trying to say is that I think
Trump gets off on foreign countries sweating in of itself. Yes, he likes saber rattling all the time.
that the people that pushed for tariffs and put that forward and made that and said, Trump, make this your central platform, or here's this law, we can do this. If they knew they had a time machine that sent them the signal and they had absolute confidence that, at the end of this year, what happened, I don't think they would do it. No.
Jeez.
Okay.
Hard to
again,
say, but okay.
I feel like this part is kind of the less important part. Like I feel like both myself and Mitty, I assume, would already grant you that the current situation with the courts, well, specifically the Supreme Court, is untenable, and it does require reforms and something to address the situation. So we can just grant all of that, and we arrive back at my question, which is, why is the institution being biased towards the Republican Party alone a justification to further erode the system?
Can I just say
authoritarian.
It isn't that alone. It's that the courts are barely holding it together and they're not doing enough to stop Trump. Okay? It's not like the courts have actually put Trump in prison. Okay? The courts are like stopping some actions, but then allowing others through. I wouldn't consider that to be a meaningful pushback against the Trump administration. It's a pushback, yes, but that pushback is like 1% of the pushback that we need right now.
No,
What are
hold on,
Stephen and
I want you're going to distract it from that question. I think that question does deserve to be answered. I want to give it to Josiah, and then we'll give it to Destiny if he has something to say about that. And then I'll
what if Stephen and I proposed that regarding the Supreme Court in this instance that would erode the system?
Well, I don't know about you, but Stephen, proposed, I don't know if he was memeing or not being serious, but he proposed possibly kidnapping Supreme Court justices.
Well, hold on. Did you actually propose that?
What I said, and it's annoying because nobody believes me, but I mean, this is just true, and I've done my whole life on this, is the president right now has the authority to kidnap Supreme Court justices. So if Trump thought there was going to be a ruling that would come down that he doesn't like, he could do a national security, whatever, send the FBI, kidnap a few Supreme Court justices he thinks is going to rule against him, and then win that case or whatever. That Trump has the authority right now to do it.
Well, should the Democrats...
I'm not saying you should do it.
Well, you brought it up in the conversation we had, and then you kind of laughed at me because you were suggesting that I was being naive, and I didn't really understand that actually he does have that power. And so at the time, you did make it seem like this was.
What I'm trying to make you understand was you guys keep saying this like in the system, out of the system. But what I'm telling you is like the system is just a gentleman's agreement. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't. It's like we talked about earlier the Game of Thrones example with Cersei ripping up the letter. Well, imagine if instead of ripping the letter up, imagine if she would have said, actually, King Robert's degree here is invalid. I think it was written by an auto pen. That's what this administration is already doing.
Executive branch is a gentleman's agreement. That's what a constitutional crisis is the idea that they're just going to
regulate it. There has to be.
But then we're just in like a rule by power situation. Like all that it is just like
yes.
I mean, everything is a rule by power situation, right? Dude.
Tenzab.
Coffee time fun. Thank you so much for the 20 Californian dollars. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh yeah, by the way, clip. Okay. This is just mainly for any clippers out there who is willing to clip and shit. So yeah, clip. I promise I will say that. So I just said that. Okay. I think I've had some good rants and good monologues before.
Okay, well, but then at that point, there's no option.
But thank you so much for the Californian dollars.
Right, will exercise power against them if they step outside of the gentleman's agreement.
Wait, can I something there? That's kind of the point. It is a gentleman's agreement, which is why the only plausible way to compel good faith from actors who are otherwise inclined to be bad faith is not just reforms. Reforms themselves are insufficient. It's accountability plus reforms. They have to fear retribution or fear accountability. This is what I said in my opening statement. Like we all are saying like yes in our deck of cards, accountability in our deck of if you just don't enforce laws. Like I agree with when you and Hutch were talking the other day, and what you were talking about was like it's kind of actually corrupt for the Democratic Party to just be like we're going to leave that alone. Like I think that's really fucking stupid. I think that the Democratic Party, when they get clear evidence of the law breaking, and even if it's politically inconvenient, if they feel like they should prioritize the health.
Why not use absolute power to show them what it looks like? It might just be the only way to get them on board with fixing these loopholes. That is the exact take that Destiny has had before, which is essentially tit for tat might be worth it in a sense in order to get the other side to actually fix some of these issues. And there's plenty of and I believe that there is like precedence for this. the NRA cares about guns, but they are scared of guns the moment a black person starts wielding guns. I've heard that the first time that the NRA has ever advocated for gun control is when the Black Panther Party, during the civil rights era, wielded guns. They wielded guns while protesting and standing outside. And that, black people with guns is such a scary sight that, Republicans started advocating against that, which is just something that never happens. But seeing that happen scared them.
The nation through force, 100% with you on that. But what I was saying in the opening wasn't that hey, accountability is the problem. What I have an issue with, and I'm kind of taking the reins on this half, so Hutch can go. I'm separating myself from Hutch here. But my problem is that the narrative is that what makes these statements that what we're seeing right now is lawlessness. What we're seeing right now is that all the fences are failing. What we're seeing right now is that the gentleman's agreement isn't enough. What we're seeing right now is a complete failure of the system. But when we actually follow through every single line item, every agenda item, one by one, it's an overwhelming, Trump is just moving from shape to shape to shape and then just starting something new so you won't look at the last thing that he tried to do that he can't do. It's in all of in half or more of the things that he's been allowed to do, it's because of a statutory issue. And I think this emphasis, and this is core to me, I think this emphasis that we need to amend the Constitution, we need to do term limits, this foundational structural thing, is missing the point that most of what's restraining Trump and most of what's enabling Trump is statute. Alien Enemies Act, Impoundment Control Act, the way in which we structure agencies. And like I said, Chevron changing was a huge deal. Chevron,
what you're talking about is baked into your example. It is self-defeating. When you say that he has to hop from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, why? Why is he allowed to hop from thing to thing to thing? Because he thinks he can violate
because he's the first one to ever do it,
gain some advantage from it, and then go to the next thing afterwards.
I guess I just
started punching kids, and they were stop punching kids, and then I started kicking kids, and stop kicking kids. By the time I beat up every kid there, and they're no more attacking, I was okay, cool. But we've already got all the stuff you wanted.
I will 100% put on the table right now. Fuck Trump, the United States, right? I think the idea that this sort of level of personal corruption and enrichment, 100%. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not saying that we've obviously seen, unless we do something about it, we've obviously seen that individuals can benefit themselves off of this government with lawlessness, 100%. And we need to do something about that. We haven't done enough about it, and more needs to happen. But then it feels like while we're talking about that, there's this switch to, the legislation, the actual trajectory of our country. I think, Stephen, you mentioned at one point, abortion was a part of your perspective here. Or it's this idea that, we're hopping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing because all those doors are closing. And, I guess we could argue that
they're hopping from thing to thing to thing to thing because Steve Bannon strategized a long time ago that fascist structures only work when you move so fast to the point where the other side, which is typically a slow legislative structure, cannot catch up to the actions that you're doing. Okay. For example, the events leading up to Hitler's reign happened so fast that there was not enough time to process anything that he's been doing. Any kind, for example, the Russian Revolution, when the Bolshevik Party came into power, people were not able to catch up on what they were doing. They overthrew everything and things started happening really quickly on purpose in order to confuse and essentially overwhelm whatever party is there at the time. Okay, doesn't even have to happen against a liberal framework, but anything almost just any kind of huge regime change or any kind of massive change in any way typically is just is part of the strategy. You have to move fast, you have to move quick, and you have to go from thing to thing. Yeah. Booty, I hope you're ready for the greatest vindication of your priors about Hutch's position in your life. Oh, in your life? Oh, what do you mean by that? I mean, I already feel vindicated. It's not like I'm searching for further vindication. When I watched this debate, everything that I've heard are stuff that I pretty much expected Hutch to say. It was just Stephen and Jessiah catching up to my viewpoints, if anything. Okay, so that's really about it. I don't think over the course of this debate I saw anything new, except for the fact that maybe Stephen is for kidnapping Supreme Court justices, which is something that I just never heard before from him. But whatever.
Could be infinitely regress into smaller technicalities that you're misinterpreting, but Trump losing on tariffs has basically closed that door forever.
I want to give it to Hutch, and I have a question for the panel, because we keep, I think, dancing around a central issue here is what to do about it. When we talk about if the system isn't sufficiently stopping Trump and his hopping and things like that. And
I don't even know the thing behind Merrick Garland. What is the Merrick Garland lore? Well, why is he Yeah, like I remember like talking about it. I remember researching it for a little bit, but then I also remember not really understanding it, I guess. I don't know. But it just seems like Mitch McConnell said that there was a norm in which you have to like delay the Supreme Court vote or something, and then they delayed it until the next person after Obama came into office, and then Obama never got his Supreme Court pick, and that's is that pretty much the entire thing? Is that Mitch McConnell made up a norm that never existed before, and he said that this was a normal thing, and then people just ran along with it. The Republicans never really showed up to actually vote on it, so there was like nothing they can do because they were so shameless about it. But yeah, it was denied a Supreme Court seat as center right under Obama, but still blocked. Yeah, because it was blocked because Republicans just straight up, like in unison, did not show up. Right, like they were absent from the nomination the confirmation hearing. Right.
Say, well, they're just getting away with it. How would you stop that in the future? In what way, other than simply just kind of naked?
It's not for it, but it's technically legal for Trump to do.
I don't. She's like, and I'm
Stop!
like, yeah, that's right. And she's like, okay.
Jesus Christ, dude. Andrew Wilson scared the shit out of me. Okay, Andrew Wilson moaning scared the fuck out of me. Okay, fuck me, dude. Oh my lord. Misaki, thank you so much for the 20 gifted subs. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you. That's very kind of you to do. Thank you. Holy shit, that scared the shit out of me. Oh my god, I was like, oh shit. I was like, what the fuck? Dude, no one expects the fucking moaning of Andrew Wilson. Holy cow.
Partisan.
You do it through impartial law enforcement and institutional reforms. I don't understand this logic that
Yeah, the House, that they denied him confirmation hearing. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous.
reforms are ineffective against future bad faith actors. I don't understand.
But I'm not sure what the Democrats could have done. I think maybe they should have like entered court, held the hearing in the first place, made up norms themselves, and then elected Merrick Garland. Maybe, okay? There's just me throwing ideas out there on shit that they could have done that is definitely not really within the rules, okay? But then, like, if the Republicans are willing to go there, then I think Democrats should also go there, okay? They definitely should have confirmed. They should have found some way or some precedent or rule, okay? Some excuse in order to confirm Merrick Garland with or without the Republican part of that, in my opinion. But yeah, is that the dono sound of Wilson stealthing his wife? No, that's the dono sound of Andrew Wilson waking up his wife with his penis.
That logic at all. The system itself was designed not to completely prevent any possibility
Just so you know, he has no issue with this.
of a bad faith actor ascending to power in the United States, but to potentially constrain such actors in the future. And the way that we've dealt with these kinds of things in the past to great effect, to really productive effect, was through reforms. I mean, you can say that, Trump existing and winning re-election in 2024 nullifies everything that we've done in the past that's helped. But I mean, all of these post-Nixon reforms, I have a list here, but there's a lot. It was numerous, and it did help and strengthen the system. That didn't mean that these reforms were a guarantee against bad faith actors. I just don't understand this. When you say that, I'll just close out with this. When you say that reforms, you can't expect them to constrain bad faith actors in the future. That kind of reminds me of the argument of like, well, there's no point in passing any laws because criminals break laws. But this is when you talk about deterrence. Like, if you actually put reforms in place that would add criminal penalties.
The reason why Hutch's argument does not make sense in this case is because this isn't a case where of criminals breaking laws. This is a case of the law. The peacekeepers, the police, the law enforcers are not doing their job, and they're corrupt, and they're letting everything slip by. Okay, that's the real analogy of this. It isn't that it isn't that, oh yeah, you shouldn't make laws because criminals break laws. It's that what's the point in making new laws if the criminals are just never caught, or if the police are lazy and they're corrupt and they don't want to do their job, right? So that would be the correct analogy here. Okay. Yeah. Or that's the dono sound of Andrew Wilson's wife waking him up with the Mr. Girthy XXL BBC strap on. Jesus Christ. True. Okay. That's his voice being pegged by a pickle jar. True. Once again, Megu and Misaki, I believe. Thank you guys so much for the massive donos. Yeah, I truly do appreciate that.
To the things that the Trump administration are currently doing that would make them future Trumps susceptible to criminal prosecution after they're done. That is a deterrent.
Once I feel like this debate has become repetitive, I'm probably going to skip forward because we've got too much to cover. We have too much to cover for me to like drag on at 1.5 speed. Okay, but we'll see.
You can't, are you saying that that's not a deterrent?
But because I've essentially already watched this debate, yeah, pretty much as long as we get the gist. Right?
No, it can be, but that's the point. That hasn't happened. You cite the Nixon reforms. Trump's violated all the Nixon reforms. The Nixon reforms were not binding on Trump. He just said no. He said the norm about how the president doesn't dictate prosecutorial decisions. He's like, no, Pam Bondi, I want you to prosecute X, Y, and Z. And even if you say, well, many of those prosecutions failed, that's not a consequence of Nixon-era reforms. That's other aspects of the system, like grand juries and things like that. So the Nixon reforms...
But he didn't violate all the Nixon reforms. Like part of the Nixon reforms was like strengthening FOIA. There was a Privacy Act of 1974 that limited the executive branch's ability to surveil citizens. They tightened restrictions on like FEC regulations. They established a DOJ Office of Professional Responsibility. They, established the norm of the independent DOJ. That Donald Trump is violating, but you can codify that. You can actually formalize that norm, and like Congress could do that next week, and the next president would be beholden to that regulation, to that like statute.
So can we agree on? Because I this was one of the frustrating parts when you and Hutch were talking.
Just so you know, okay, and I just want to say I want to take credit for this first. Okay, the idea that the idea that essentially Hutch's side is making pro-MAGA talking points. Pretty sure I was the first one to say that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take credit for that one. But also, this is essentially a pro-MAGA talking point, right? If you hold Democrats to norms and standards, but with Trump and MAGA, they're not beholden to norms and standards. It's all about what's right and what's proper for Democrats. That is a pro-MAGA talking point because you're essentially saying, well, MAGA can do whatever the fuck they want, right? But Democrats couldn't, and not even like they can't even break norms, even though norms are not like codified in law, right? Like even for things that are not criminally prosecutable or like civilly prosecutable, essentially you're making the argument that wouldn't even stand with you. Like they shouldn't even do things like that because it'll like corrupt our democracy, right? So therefore you should just let the Republicans corrupt the democracy for you, I guess. So obviously that, in my opinion, that is a pro-MAGA talking point. But
and I feel like you almost reached it. And maybe I'm wrong. When we talk about norms, right? Does this definition track like the idea that like there are laws and then there are norms, and norms are areas where we have an agreement to allow an authority to exist, but an understanding that we should probably only use it in select circumstances, even though we're leaving that avenue open, right? The president can direct the DOJ, but we've kind of all agreed that they probably shouldn't, right? That it's best, and it's a gentleman's agreement beyond the status of the law, right? And one of your questions was, how can you identify a norm that's worth breaking on an unarbitrary reason? And I think California is a perfect example of that, right? Like a norm is this idea that, yes, states have, in some respects, authority to do this, but we choose not to. But norms are gentlemen's agreements.
What do you mean by California?
Just that, like California, did I say redistricting?
No, gerrymandering stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And like to Destiny's point, and this is where I agree with Destiny, I just think it's like in a smaller circle, like if the other side is using and breaking the norms, yeah, fuck the norms, right? Like you don't die in that way, but that's different. And I think that you and Hutch had a disagreement here where you were saying Hutch was being, I don't remember if the word was corrupt for wanting to appoint Jack Smith. I'll be black and white here to describe it. Hutch wants Jack Smith for reasons he can describe in a vacuum without mentioning Trump. I would say if I'm being sure, I'm not accusing it, just to make my point. Could you describe why you want the fair speech norm, those norms there? Could you explain why you don't want those to be there without mentioning the effect at the end of it? Like that's the difference, right? Like we have to understand like norms exist because they have a better result when we act this way, but it's nice to have the authority. And maybe if it starts getting, sorry, I'll wrap up. Maybe if it starts getting abused, we abuse it too. And then the response should be, all right, let's close that up. Maybe we like drop the authority or we drop the norm. And it feels like one of those has to happen.
Okay, well, let's give it to Jessiah so he can respond.
So yeah, you threw a lot out there. So first, it wasn't just a norm that California changed. It was the California Constitution. They put it up for a referendum. They modified the Constitution in order to pass Proposition 50. So they actively, aggressively changed the law in response to gerrymandering. I think it's a great example. A lot of people on the left and the right talk about how gerrymandering it's really illiberal, it's wrong, because it's the politicians choosing the voters rather than the other way around. And yet we as a party came to the consensus that no, this is a time where instead of just dying on the hill of principle, we say no, we're acting in self-defense. We're setting principle aside for self-defense. And Newsom was able to make that case and persuade California voters to buy in, but he changed the law to do it. Number one.
He did that. Sorry.
Number two, as far as Hutch and Jack Smith, my point with Hutch was I think Hutch tries to have it both ways, and Hutch can address this later on when I'm done, which is that, I feel sometimes he suggests that he's above the fray, like, oh, none of my policy prescriptions or reforms are outcome oriented, when in fact they are. Hutch was very candid. He wants to appoint Jack Smith in part because he knows Jack Smith or believes Jack Smith would prosecute somebody like Trump. Now, when pressed, he'll just say, well, no, I'm appointing Jack Smith. I can just say I'm appointing Jack Smith for maximum accountability. I could say the same thing. You said fair speech, which leads me to number 3. I could say the same thing about why I would want a Democratic FCC to be more ruthless than the Biden era FCC. I could totally delete Trump's name and just say, well, I think that the FCC should be more rigorous because we've seen previous examples where free speech violations have gone or FCC regulations have gone unenforced. So no, I could do the same game that I think Hutch plays. And I don't think he's being bad faith. I think he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, and give myself plausible deniability. I'm just being much more blunt as a political commentator.
Well, I mean, Hutch's position is just completely like nonsensical, right? At the same time that he wants to break norms and he wants to gerrymander and pack the court and prosecute Trump, apparently only his method of prosecuting Trump is the only one that's valid, and other people's methods of prosecuting Trump is invalid and is bipartisan or like too partisan or something like that. Yeah, no, his position is actually very contradictory in of itself. It makes no sense to me. Yeah, it just seems like, oh yeah, all of my positions are correct because I'm the one that proclaimed them, but other positions are incorrect because they are the ones that suggested their own ideas, which is not my ideas. That's like literally the only consistency I see for Hutch's positions.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask like both of you guys a question.
Sure.
Do Destiny and Jessiah, do you guys agree that if the country is going to get on a healthier track, a better track, a more quote unquote normal track, would you both agree that this requires the public to have more faith in our structures and our institutions than they do right now?
Yes. I think in the end, yes, that would be necessary.
I'm curious Destiny's answer to this as well.
I mean, I would say yes, but then my question is immediately like, well, what would be things that could restore faith in the government? Well, what if you had a bipartisan president that didn't engage in political prosecutions of his enemy, that allowed his DOJ to act so independently that there were investigations of himself for classified material? We've got the Her report, allowed endless investigations from Congress of his son, Hunter Biden, and for his DOJ to convict him of crimes. Like maybe did these restore any faith whatsoever?
Well, I don't know. This is the strongest. I don't know. This is the strongest argument to say that someone like Joe Biden, which for all his strengths as a president, being a cheerleader, being someone who was out there like changing hearts and minds, that was never his strength. And so just because he failed, I would say failed in that mission, that doesn't mean that the mission itself is we should just give up on it, right? I do want to circle back to the question and just like ask again.
As much by his own government.
No one's giving up. No one's giving up on that vision. It's just that vision isn't even remotely possible within the current time constraint right now. Okay, I'm gonna skip forward. Okay, but yeah, we'll see what they talk about.
You have
they actually do
simultaneously questioned whether or not the criminal prosecutions, convictions, charges of Trump and his top allies sufficiently deterred them. Why were you asking Stephen that question? Because your point was they weren't deterred.
You can see that they get a lot more pressed, okay, as the time passes. They get more and more heated, and Hutch starts being less and less of Josiah's boy.
Right? Were they deterred? Were they deterred?
Funny.
Josiah, my point was not that deterrence doesn't matter. My point was
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I asked you.
Fine, I'll say insufficient. My point was not that deterrence is insufficient. My point was I was pushing back against your specific points that we must go to extraordinary, and in Destiny's case, maybe even like extra legal. Hang on.
I'm gonna keep circling this.
Jesiah. I shut up Hutch so he could go. So you could go. I'm gonna shut you up so Hutch could go. Hutch, go.
I am pushing back against this idea. You're using the fact that it's so important that we punish these people because then they'll know that they need to stop. That's what I'm pushing back against. I am not saying don't punish people because it doesn't actually deter them. Do you understand the difference between these things?
I didn't say that you said don't punish people because they weren't sufficiently deterred. I'm asking you, were they sufficiently deterred? Was Trump sufficiently deterred?
No.
Navarro?
No.
Bannon?
No.
Jenna Ellis?
Her? Maybe, yeah.
Rudy Giuliani?
We don't need to do the whole list. Just tell me where you're going with this.
Why are you bringing it up that they were not sufficiently deterred? Because we agree that they were not sufficiently deterred. Why are you bringing it up?
I just said it.
Repeat. We're going to do this Socratically. One more time.
Okay, listen. You guys are saying that we need to consider creative or maybe even illegal ways to make sure. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So like after 2 hours, it seems like they're still arguing the same exact point. They're never gonna move past this point. This point is never gonna be moved past.
Make sure that these people are punished.
Like literally for the entire 5 hours.
Because that's going to be the only thing that signals to them that they can't get away with the stuff that they're doing. I am pushing back against that specifically, Josiah. I don't understand the logic of saying that they're gonna feel the full force of the federal government or law enforcement, and they're gonna say, "Oh fuck, they're serious. They're stop being pussies. We need to stop." They're not gonna do that. That doesn't mean don't deter. Do you understand the difference?
I understand. So I'm asking you, what would deter them by way of criminal punishment?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know.
Do you think that criminal punishment can deter them?
On the margins, but in this environment, they're going to take any
martyrs.
They perceive themselves as martyrs.
I said they will only do what they can to.
Josiah really needs to go into debate circuit more. He is really good at this. I think that he knows how to speak in Star Trek language, in so that like he gives speeches almost every single time he talks. So he always sounds like a voice of authority. It seems as if that Destiny feels like the person in this debate where he is the one willing to get down, play dirty, essentially, and start yelling at the opponent. But Josiah feels like the person who is supposed to be the more calm and relaxing, lenient person, partner in the debate, and someone who is like sternly telling you that you're wrong and this is why, and that makes him perk up. I think that this duo is a good duo to have essentially for debates. Because they have opposite but synchronous energy when it comes to a lot of time 2v2 debates are really bad because your partner is the one that is dragging you down. But I don't think that is the case for this one. Yeah, I think this one is a good example of two people working together.
Win elections. That's why.
Good cop, bad cop vibes. I was gonna say that, but then I don't think that. I don't know. I don't know whether or not this fits that vibe in particular. Sure, yeah. Good cop, bad cop.
A lot of them kind of started dropping ship at the end of the J6 stuff because it was the first time the Republican Party was starting to bleed people. But then after people kind of forgot, a year or two goes on, and then everybody kind of comes back. I think there's going to be electoral victories for them at the end. They do what they're going to do to win office and then not be punished.
Yeah, but Josiah, just real quick, Josiah, right? I'm gonna translate Hutch here. I'm gonna channel my inner Hutch. That's his whole point. Is that nothing you're going to do when it comes to the legal system, when it comes to punishment, is going to work, and it has and maybe this is me here. It has a real risk of alienating voters who have traditionally not liked it when parties have gone after or been perceived to go after their political opponents. So if you're getting no gain from this and you have huge risks electorally, why would you do it?
Can I do one huge example here? I totally disagree. I think, and I'm going to present.
Also, I don't know why Wick. I don't know why Wick chimes in during this part. Frankly, nobody asked for his opinion. This is a 2v2. He should be the moderator. I don't like it when Wick would then come in and act like he's a participant on the debate. I think that is cucked. I think that's weird. I think it's cringe. I think that that is a stupid thing to do. When Dylan Burns moderates debates, he is much more fair. And he tries to move the debate forward. Because that is the sign of a good moderator, someone who recognizes that there is a blockage and tries to move the debate forward. But then it just feels like Wick is just there to count donations and interrupt and say that he really wants to read out super chats. And I don't know, he's just very cringe in general. I don't like him.
If you guys are I think all of you are wrong. If California would have lost their referendum to gerrymander, every single conservative state in the country would have gerrymandered the fuck out of all their blue districts, and they would have lauded themselves for it. They would have celebrated it. When California won their gerrymander, everybody around the country, I think, was a little bit frozen by that. I think that's why Indiana's GOP, they rejected Trump's bid to gerrymander the state, because they started to realize at that point, oh shit, this thing that we wanted to suck ourselves off for over and over and over again,
it might backfire.
I fucked in the ass for it, and they stopped. And now we're not talking about gerrymandering anymore. Now we're talking about saying,
I agree with this. No one disagrees with gerrymandering, not even me.
What I'm saying is that it wasn't a law, it wasn't a norm. It was Newsom bringing the big dick of his fucking constituency, saying we're going to do this, and then we fucked him on it, and now he's like, oh, we got burned on this.
But that is a norm, though.
That's a democratic
norm.
It's a democratic process.
Wait. The idea.
I agree with you. It is a norm, but in that case, everything is a norm. Every creative.
All this time, and I still think I have the best backdrop. I still think that I have the best stream backdrop out of all of them, okay? Even after all this time, all right? I think my lighting is perfect. I think it's immaculate. I think that my background is pretty. Okay, it's cozy, it's comfy. Okay, just can't match up. All right, what else can I say?
No. Anything can be a norm. Yes. He's saying that's a law. He's saying that way they went through, they got a congressional reform in Congress where they got us to vote for it. Right, he went through the process.
How thick do you think Wick is? I would probably say his BMI is 31.
It was a law. That was a normal law. You can do anything you want with the law if you're creative enough. You can do anything you want.
No, you can't. Okay. Okay, hold on. When I say that the redistricting.
Yes, you can. Trump literally invoked the Illegal Aliens Act. He invoked something that has not been invoked since the Japanese internment camps in World War II. This argument is invalid.
Was a norm. What I'm saying is that blatantly, flagrantly partisan redistricting to win elections specifically, and in big, broad efforts, that's something that that states have the authority to do, but that we kind of all sit in the ceasefire. The ceasefire is the norm.
Are you allowed to get rid of the blinds? Yeah, I am allowed to, but what reason is there to get rid of them? I don't know, why should I get rid of them?
And then when Texas is like, we're going to do it, you're like, oh, you're breaking the ceasefire. Fuck you, big dick. That's what I mean by redistricting as a norm. And that's the kind of thing that, like, when one side breaks the ceasefire, I agree, you don't morally tie yourself to the ceasefire and as in an anchor falling into the sea.
Okay, has Republicans packed the court yet? Then why is it that Hutch supports packing the court? Actually, I don't know whether or not this yellow shirt person, this Pusha person, supports packing the court. But then if Hutch agrees with this, why does Hutch agree packing the court even though the Republicans have not packed the Supreme Court yet, right? I mean, that's naturally, you know, I have to question that because that seems like a contradiction among his opinions, right? Also, can I just say, during this debate when I was in DG chat, Poppy Follower said that my opinions were incoherent and makes no sense, okay, because he was a Hutch supporter. What the fuck? The cope behind some of these people is crazy, okay? But just want to say that real quick.
But what I'm saying is that, like, there are also things that, like, once we start swinging, there's no off-ramp. Like, once we start...
The gerrymandering thing, though, for a week, every single person in the country, I saw Ted Cruz, I saw state legislators, I saw people on Fox, everybody was like, well, if we redistrict, here's the... How many of you guys remember the 50 million tweets of, here's the top 13 most gerrymandered states, here's the top 11 states that have gerrymandered? Like, nobody did that because they thought...
Can I agree with you 100% here?
Yeah.
I agree. I think that maybe in this conversation, and that's why I kind of wanted to carve out the definition of norm, I feel like we're kind of taking the concept of norms and trying to, like, apply universal prescriptions to it. Like,
yeah, but then he said he was joking. He only said that he was joking because I pushed back on him, because I made a sad face and he probably felt bad. But, like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think he was joking.
There are some norms that it's like, yeah, if you break this, it gets broken back. And the enforcement mechanism is exactly what you're saying. But I think there are other things that, like, once you start doing this, there isn't an off-ramp other than, like, revoking the power entirely.
Sure, but I guess my quick question, and I get over.
To be honest, okay, and honestly, to be fair, just to be fair, I have spent a fair amount of time attacking Hobbit Follower, okay, for his stupid takes, so fair enough.
Just my quick question. Wasn't it bad that California gerrymandered that way? I think it was. Do you? That was a bad thing. We don't want to ultra gerrymander our states to deprive Republicans or another party of votes, right? It was a bad thing.
It's not ideal, but it's necessary.
Oh my gosh.
It's necessary.
It's not ideal, but necessary. That's me and Jessiah's line. That's our whole debate topic.
But these are not analogous. It is not analogous to say. It is not.
I'm so tired, and my head hurts. My stomach feels uneasy, and my eyes are irritated. It's fucking over for me, dude. How am I even commentating?
But
it is not, Destiny. It is not analogous to say that if in California he did it
maybe I'm just getting old.
democratically, he put a measure to the voters. The voters decided.
Slavery was democratic. I'm asking you, was it bad?
What are you the voters decided. There's a difference between that happening. There's a difference between that.
You have to address Destiny's point overall, right? Though, can you do that? Go ahead.
But he's like, what are you comparing this to? Like, what do you want? You want me to say? Hang on, let me finish what I'm fucking saying, man. Just chill. You're saying, okay, so California did this, and it's not good. Okay.
Hey, chatter should donate so you feel better. Oh, you're right. I mean, chatters, if you donate, then automatically you kill one virus for every $1. Okay, thank you. Hobbit Follower might be as cringe as stale. I'm not sure about that. You're comparing oranges to apples to oranges.
Therefore, ... That means blank is okay to do. Like, what is the blank here?
We countered them, but we didn't lose the democracy by everybody going crazy on gerrymandering. We just showed.
That's my question.
What do you mean? What's your question?
I'm asking you. Okay, so California did this thing, right? And like tie it to something that you want to do. Therefore, we should do what?
I think part of Destiny's point is that you are willing to do bad things to stop Republicans from winning, to punish Republicans. And I know for me, it's about engaging that threshold of what's acceptable. That to be part of what Stephen is getting at. That's why he wants you to bite the bullet that gerrymandering is still bad when California does it.
But I think there's a distinction here, and it's the corruption norm distinction. And I honestly do not know if I would consider gerrymandering, if it's the right of the states, if it's like, hey, does gerrymandering, like, if you intentionally do it for the, like,
it's the right of the president to order prosecution.
Hold on. Hutch had an answer here, and I want to give Hutch a chance to answer and to address Josiah's point. So Hutch, go ahead.
Ask the question again.
Are you getting sick? I'm always sick in my heart.
You're asking me to reckon with there's a difference between, a very distinct material difference between a governor of a state like convening a special session of the legislature, who then pass a measure to send it to voters if we democratically decide to do something. There's a difference between that and weaponizing institutions. These are very different things. You cannot say because we did the one thing and it's like it's technically bad on paper, therefore we should be willing to do this thing. The consequence of this over here is much different than the consequence over here.
Well, you emphasize the process. Why did Newsom do it that way?
Because he wanted it to he wanted to have the confidence of the people. He wanted it to have more legitimacy. He wanted it to have more legitimacy because if you do it democratically, it will be perceived more legitimately.
I want you to address Hutch's point here. Like, that you can understand how people and voters, right, the ones who were trying to persuade, might see what Newsom did, right? And if he had done
Foodshops in the big 2026, but I'm not wearing dark eyeliner.
Done it in a different way where he had just by fiat bypassed the California Constitution and said, we're just going to ignore this. That there's a world where voters see that and they say, wow, that's
They would have been turned off by that. Right? Yes.
Well, no,
similar. Yes.
No, what I'm saying is he couldn't have lawfully done it any other way. That's why he settled on that. There is the California Constitution creates that
get away with it, right?
I'm sorry.
Hold on, but Destiny's point earlier was laws are just
you can just do anything, right?
You can just get away with it if you do it like Trump.
If you're the president, it's a little different if you're the state president, the governor versus like the president of the United States, but it's the same concept.
No, Newsom, I suppose Newsom could. Wait a minute. I suppose Newsom could have tried to do something unlawful, but the California Constitution has that nonpartisan election commissions board. That's why Newsom had to put it to a public referendum. He and his attorneys gamed it out, and they said that this was the plausible path. That's why they did it the way they did it. It wasn't because Newsom felt high and mighty. I mean, if that's the case, I guess my question to Hutch is: every time a blue state gerrymanders, should they put it to referendum, even if they don't have to?
If they did, it would be perceived more legitimately. The reason why that rule was baked in, that it had to go to the voters, I assume, ties into what I'm talking about. Where if you tie it to democratic processes, especially if you directly involve voters, that is going to be something that is seen as more democratic, more legitimate, more accepted. People are going to feel like they're a part of it.
That's not what
that is a very different thing. That is you can't, every time I fucking talk, you interrupt, bro. Every time. Stop talking. There's a difference between doing it that way and then telling someone like having a politician blatantly weaponize institutions against their political enemies.
That was a weaponization of the referendum against the minority of the state. It just was.
What is bastard? Sorry, I just interrupted you.
If let's say that California does the same referendum next year, and it's to get rid of every single.
I think the funniest comment I saw, and it was so simple as well. I saw in DG chat somebody said Hutch debates like a woman, and the more I think about it, the more correct it seems to be. I don't know. Maybe it's my inner misogynist. Okay, it's my secret misogynist side. Okay, well, not so secret. But then I realized, wait a second. That person kind of has a point.
Republican seat. Would you say that that's still totally fine because it's left up to a Democratic vote? My next question is going to be spoiler alert.
It's not ideal, but it's not weaponization. You're bastardizing the definition of the word weaponization.
What do you think weaponization is? When you do something illegal? No, weaponizing a thing is to use it as a weapon, to use it for an unintended purpose, but still use it in a way that is not necessarily illegal.
When you use like an agency for your own like political purposes, if you're putting something to
Wait. No, just
Destiny, go. Destiny, finish your point.
Wouldn't it be weaponization if they, so I don't know all 100% about California's policy procedure, but if they had a nonpartisan board or whatever that was supposed to do gerrymandering, and then the governor comes out because he's unhappy with something another state did, Texas, and he fucking gerrymanders away 5 of my Republican districts, how is that not a big fuck you to the thing that they had set up and not weaponizing the power of the governor to do a referendum against the thing that he agrees the state to have a nonpartisan gerrymandering board to deprive 5 districts of their right to vote?
Is it weaponizing to amend any state constitution or amend the constitution? Is that weaponizing?
Which, if I was you, I would end myself. Still a dude. You know, I have my dream job, so I see no reason to end myself. I'm having a good time.
No, not necessarily. Just depends what you're talking about. But I like what you're saying.
What do you think weaponizing means?
Now you're thinking it like a Republican. As long as
what do you think?
Tell me what you think.
Tell me what you think weaponizing means in this context, in a political context.
When you use something for its unintended purpose to achieve or effect some outcome that probably wasn't designed to, and you know that you're doing that.
I take weaponization to be like specifically in the context of agencies. If you're talking about putting measures to voters to amend the state constitution, that to me cannot be weaponization. It might not be ideal. It could be bad in a vacuum, but it's not the same thing as weaponization.
Can I ask for help? Is it a majority?
Yes. I don't.
Is you today? Yeah.
Oh,
so doesn't defeat the whole purpose of a bipartisan, not apolitical board to help gerrymander your state so that you don't lose all your home state?
Hold on. Let me in. The distinction here is important. When we're talking about corruption, like the way you laid it out, Destiny, you're taking one law and using it outside of its intended purpose, right? If the original districting laws had this like obligation to be fair, and I'm going to intentionally be not fair and do something to disenfranchise people, I would agree with you. But the idea that like we're not starting from a law that had an intended purpose, we're rechecking in with the constituents and saying, what do you want to do? If we're taking a law that was, if the laws gain their
You were right this whole time, Foodshops. You were right about Hutch this whole time. Yeah, no shit.
Legitimacy from the will of the voters, and we take a law that existed and had one will, and we say, actually, this law is about punishing op-ed students who write papers, right? We're taking one.
I mean, the real question is, when was I ever wrong about somebody? Like, that's the real question, isn't it? You should just take me as fact, honestly, from now on, okay? No matter what it is, just take me as fact.
Instance of the democratic will and.
He's like he doesn't understand that laws need to be enforced. I think he understands that. He just contradicts himself.
And using something else. But if Gavin Newsom went to his people and said, here's what you want, do you want it? That's different. I mean, maybe there's more in that there, but like he's not taking the will of 10 years ago that was codified in law and then using that to accomplish his own purposes. He's creating a new...
was to fight against Republicans. It was a bad thing. Can we not... Wait, hold on. Do we all agree here that erasing districts for the purpose of having...
Yeah, something about me then? I can't say anything. I haven't covered...
A partisan gerrymandered state is a bad thing, or do we not all agree on that? Are we not going to be?
That's like acting like Destiny. That's like asking, is it a bad thing to kill people in the context of like a country invading your fucking coastline? Like obviously killing people,
now you're
bad.
saying, so now the thing killing people, you would say was horrible and bad before. Now you're finding reasons for it because you're trying to. Because I imagine what you're going to say is, well, killing people, if somebody's trying to make a country, I guess the end can be good because you're trying to reduce the overall amount of killing. This is the whole argument about maybe you have to step a little bit outside of the system.
Very important link. What? The fuck? Why? What the fuck did you?
A magnanimous dispensation.
Maggie, thank you so much. Maggie, thank you so much for the 50 Australian. I love you too. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's so kind. Oh my god, you guys have been so nice today. You guys are so kind. What the fuck? Radiant! Stop! Another post like that and I'll ban you, okay? If you guys don't know what Radiant just posted, it's like femboy.beauty slash identifier, okay? And it's like a femboy, I'm assuming, who is like jerking off like a duck, okay? While the duck is making a squeaking sound, alright? Like, why? Why would you share it? What's wrong with you, man?
I have to save the system. It's the same argument that we have. Wait, but you're not.
Also, thank you so much for 50 Australian. Okay. Also, by the way, I don't care if it's SFW. Okay, that's inappropriate.
I agree then. Do you not agree that gerrymandering, partisan gerrymandering, is bad? We shouldn't be trying to erase representation in states for the House of Representatives. No, is that what
you know what's worth that?
In a vacuum, it is bad, but I don't understand what inconsistency you think you found here.
So I want to close the loop on this because I asked you this earlier and I didn't get a satisfying answer. So again, the process required Newsom to put this on a ballot referenda. Let's say Illinois, because I'm not sure what Illinois' process is. I don't know if you have to amend the Illinois Constitution the way you do for California and Virginia.
Okay, I think it's about time to skip forward again. Actually, I think we're covering this at quite a nice pace. Okay, like if we cover it at the pace where we skip forward a whole bunch, all right, after. Like when I feel like something is being way too repetitive, we're actually covering this at quite a brisk pace, actually, and we're gonna finish. Yeah, and we're gonna finish. The fuck?
World where we're gonna be able to do constitutional amendments in 2028. I don't live in that world. I think that we are probably only going to be able to get legislative reform. I imagine we're not going to be able to overcome the pardons. I imagine none of this is going to happen, and I imagine we will be okay. But when I hear things like you can justify anything, you can indict a ham sandwich, which was in a different context 5 years ago, that was the other side's argument. But the idea that like just be creative enough, you can do anything. And then when I'm like, hey, what does that mean? It's like, oh well, you can like.
Why is DG so vicious towards Hutch when the only disagreement is about means to the same end? No. It's because Hutch is literally making MAGA talking points in order to invalidate saving our democracy, okay? And I think that it is warranted to be harsh towards something like that, because at this point you can't afford to split hairs anymore over norms. If you split hairs over norms, then the Republicans have already won, and the country might as well go and get fucked.
Log down some famous people with process, and it's like, okay, is that what being creative is going to look like in Newsom's like administration? Is that like
stumbling? Destiny's wrong. The Redistricting Council was voted when I'm not about to say Arnold Schwartz's name, okay? That last name is a trap and you know it. Was governor. He supported it. Okay, gotcha.
We go to the court, and this is where like the existence of this, what are we going to do if, is the problem. Right? Is there just a point where we have to say we lost that election and that fucking sucked, right? And we need to reform the stuff that like clears up more corruption from happening. But it's like, when do we is there just a point where we say, yeah, like Gavin Newsom probably can't do much to Trump after this other than put him in court a few times. We probably can't do much to Eric Trump other than
I bet Arnold only became popular and became governor because his last name is just an excuse to say the N-word with the hard R.
Then like I mean I guess go after what his like tax reforms. Like, but then if we're saying that, like, oh, we'll reveal the fact that he insider traded, yes, like that's what we want to do. We have reason to believe that these things exist. But it's like, if we end up in the position where, like, it feels weird to me that we're just saying, like, we need this absolute, essential, necessary accountability. And it's like, what does that look like? Well, because of all these obstacles, we have to be creative. Well, what does being creative look like? Being creative looks like process.
Why are you talking about them? I gave 3 examples.
What 3 examples?
You cited reforms that we might.
Hold on, I want to hear him say a thing. Hold on.
Sure.
Congress passed a law to enact Section 3, 14th Amendment. Every elected conservative that was supporting Trump, however the fuck they determine that, they can do whatever they can draw fucking straws for.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
What? Massive Supreme Court reform. Okay.
No, we're agreeing on reform. I don't think we're getting Supreme Court reform because that's
okay. Well, wait. But if it comes to the point where it's like, oh shit, we don't have the votes of the Senate for it. If you don't have the votes of the Senate for it, then you add 134 new representatives to Congress via DC, make them all states. What the fuck ever you have to do for it, do that, and then pass a constitutional amendment to do what you need to do, and then get rid of them. Like that type of shit.
You need Congress to do that, and they would tell you no.
The Democrats are saying, hold on. I need to finish my point. In this conversation is the presumption that there is this accountability concept that is necessary for the future of America. And I agree that it is, right? And insofar as we can have it, I want it, right? But when it comes to the obstacles, when we walk up to the obstacles of this happening, right? What we end up with, and I'm like, okay, well, we can't pardon criminal immunity, like short of like packing the courts, which I'm just going to say that I disagree with principally. I just disagree with it. It's a different conversation.
You disagree with it principly? Wait a minute. You disagree with it principally? Why?
Oh, God. We're going to
later. I want to stay on my point later.
I understand what you're saying. We agree. Listen, I understand what you're saying. This is
Yeah, I mean, like, fuck it. I'll say this even for myself, okay? I probably would disagree principally on that as well. Why? Because I think in an ideal world, we shouldn't be packing the courts, just like how in an ideal world, we shouldn't be having abortions, okay? Who the fuck wants to go through an abortion in an ideal utopian world, right? But the reason why I support abortions is because we don't live in an ideal world, right? Sometimes we do live in a world where actions or however inconvenient or maybe even morally bad, right, are justified. I'm not saying abortion is morally bad, okay? But I'm saying, like, maybe in some of these cases it's justified because, well, I mean, we don't live in a perfect world. So therefore, some things are actually good, right?
No, hold on. Yeah, please. Go ahead. Destiny.
Well, let me finish. No, go ahead.
No, okay. Concisely, Minnie. Concisely.
I am being concise.
Okay.
And we end up to this point where it's like, we come up on all these obstacles, and the response to that is like, okay, well, we'll be creative. We'll do indictments based on this, and that. And it's like, and when I challenge that doesn't make any sense, our examples are, well, look at process is the punishment. And it's like, okay, is process punishment going to be this are the Republicans going to be like fucking forlorn by us like charging them for their gun form taxes like 100? Is that going to be the thing that like stakes them in the heart that we like
this has negative impacts? Yes. Look at how much
we're talking about, like essential accountability. We're not talking about fuel in the fire. We're talking about like essential accountability for the health of our country. That we tag Eric Trump for jaywalking.
No, dude, Hutch is about to say. I know exactly what Hutch is about. Hutch
You just contradicted yourself.
There was massive accountability for Hunter Biden, but wasn't Hunter Biden pardoned? And didn't you say that since Trump didn't go to prison, that was actually was that the argument you were about to make? Hutch, go ahead.
No, you were the one. No, you were the one that's saying that process is the punishment. But then when I listed all the people that went through like these processes for criminal indictments and getting disbarred, you said it was nothing. You said
he's just so energetic.
It was not meaningful.
Process is the punishment because the conservative.
Younglings. Okay. See, this is why I can't keep up with younger people anymore, okay? Younger people like Jessiah and Destiny, they just have too much energy, okay? I'm a old woman, all right? I'm aging, I'm old, okay? I'm not built for this anymore.
Weaponize the process to use it. Democrats are using the process to effect an end. Republicans are abusing the process, and then that is the end for them. Do you think Republicans gave a fucking Hillary actually did something bad with her email servers? No, they used that for a year's worth of fucking media coverage. That was the win. They didn't give a fuck if she got indicted at the internet or if anything bad happened at the internet. They got all the statements from Comey. They got all the fucking media press for it. That's all that matters to them.
If the process is the punishment, I don't know why you downplayed the.
I hate how this discourse is 90% of people misstating Destiny, SFO, and Josiah's position and arguments. I think it's beyond just misstating. I think it's deliberate bad faith. I think think that's what's going on. You're not old, though. I'm 38. Yeah, I'm older than that. Okay? I'm older than that.
Consequences that I said before because these people ultimately got pardoned. You are contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not. Here's the difference.
Yes, you are.
The difference is that when Hillary Clinton's emails were talked about, it hurt her election. When Donald Trump was arrested, his mugshot is hanging in the fucking White House. Do you see the difference? The process is a punishment for one side because they're playing by the other rules. The other side is flagrantly abusing them. But you seem to think that they're both the same.
They're winning in spite of, not because of that. And it's all the other externalities during the Biden 2024 election that got them the win.
The process is the punishment. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the process is the punishment. That's the accountability.
You don't treat it that way. Not if you don't give a fuck about the process. Not if it's all a fucking mean to you.
I'm gonna fall back to what I said earlier. I think everything that we've experienced since like 2020 has been almost exclusively a result of the Democratic establishment and because of Joe Biden completely
56? You're saying I'm 56? No, I'm 26.
Fucking going silent. There was no leader of the party. Like Trump would just go out and say shit and everyone was like, all right, cool, now I know what I have to like defend. And they would move and say shit. And the Democratic Party had nothing. I don't think that if we're talking about the essential, necessary, without this we fucking die accountability, like it's not process punishment. It's get the fucking information out there.
You catch the reveal about this MIDI guy near the end? You mean the part where he says that he voted for Trump in 2020? Yeah.
Have a message and drill that into everybody's fucking heads. And like,
this is the way that I view it. When I say start of the fall of the American Empire, or it happened in 2016, is we're talking about all this domestically. We're not going to get into this conversation. But internationally, the entire fucking world is looking at how the United States responds to Donald Trump. And if it's just to move on to the next election for business as usual, who the fuck is ever making any big deal with the United States of America again, knowing that we're one bad inflation period away from electing another fucking lunatic that's going to do God knows the fuck what else all over the world.
Nobody would disagree that like legal
Yes, that one. Yeah.
accountability or like some kind of accountability is really important after a moment like this. Nobody would disagree with that. But we do have examples in history of world leaders that committed like full-on atrocities that were never held accountable, and then the countries went on to become healthier, functional democracies. Spain with Franco, Chile with Pinochet.
Yeah, but how many people had to die, right? Like, it's just like saying, well, Germany survived, okay, after Hitler. Yeah, but at what cost, right? Millions of people. If only that could be avoided, right? And don't give me the butterfly effect bullshit, okay?
You know, like these things have happened before. I'm not downplaying. I am not downplaying.
Deposed or gotten rid of. Whose administration didn't carry on?
They did not go to jail. Franco did not. Franco died when he was in power, I believe. Pinochet like avoided any like real accountability for like he mass murdered like thousands of people. Okay, like that was not.
You're a young woman. No, I'm not. I feel old. Okay, I mean this genuinely. I feel old. I feel ancient. Okay, you have no idea. All right. I wish. You know what? I wish that I felt as young, or I feel as young as I do, as I do here. Like it's just, I can't. I just can't. I'm too old.
Deal that he got away with that, but those countries did find a way to get on a better path. So I think this idea that the idea that the kind of accountability that you guys want is so necessary that if it doesn't happen, it necessarily represents the end of the republic. History does not support what you guys are saying. There are examples of countries getting on a better path when that didn't happen.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying it's the end of the republic. I do think it's a major step in democratic backsliding. It's not just a minor step, it's a big deal because it's also a culmination of a pattern. Again, the pardon of President Nixon, the botched Reconstruction at the end of the Civil War. There is a general atmosphere of
Is the final chapter of Hutch the Libtard worth the watch, or is it more of the same? More of the same.
Accountability for corrupt leaders, at least corrupt presidents in this country. And then you add the immunity decision on top of it. This is where I totally agree with Destiny. Unless you really use the system to demonstrate to MAGA that there will be legal consequences for their actions. And I understand that you gave some examples. I actually disagree with Destiny on some of them. I do. Fox's behavior did change in certain respects after the Dominion lawsuit. Tucker Carlson was fired. They didn't traffic openly in the 2020 election denialism as a consequence. When Gavin Newsom threatened his 700.
I feel like Jessiah gives me the real hope pill because he's saying that actions have consequences and you can actually stop the downward spiral of our democracy by making them feel the consequences of their actions. Okay, that's the real hope pill. But I feel like people like Hutch like has the black pill where they're saying nothing we do ever matters. We shouldn't do anything. We shouldn't provoke them. We should just like not get tortured as badly. Like it's just I don't know, man. This shit is doo-doo water.
$187 million lawsuit just last year against Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters apologized on air because they didn't want to get slapped with that sort of shit again. Now, I would also argue in many of the instances, the punishment was relatively minor. So 4 months for Steve Bannon, I think Navarro, you said as well. Who was the other one? Was it Manafort? Manafort was pardoned, yeah. And so the problem was this wasn't the end of the age of Trump. Trump himself is the one to me that matters most. It's important to try to get as many of the MAGA high command as possible. But as long as they felt that there was a future for them post-Trump, I mean, Steve Bannon went to prison in 2024 pretty confident that Trump at least had a coin flip of winning the election. So he said, I'm doing this for Trump. I'm Trump's biggest soldier because there was a life for him and his movement after he got out of prison. It's not just an instance of punishment. It's an atmosphere of accountability that comes from the legislature and the executive. I think that's what needs to be done. I'll just wrap up with this as far as like, because I was trying to.
We live in a world where Steve Bannon is literally detailing out how he's going to turn a democracy into a dictatorship. And then to this day, we're still going like, well, you don't know that. What? Everything he said that he wanted to happen has happened and worked. And we're still at like part 8 in his plan, and you're still not doing anything to counter it. I don't know. It's still silly. Buddha's trying to woo me? What? Fuck? Why don't you say that?
Some of the things that Mitty said. I think the Supreme Court reform would address much of this. The immunity decision, the Supreme Court giveth, the Supreme Court can.
Also, if you're 38, then you should have enough money, okay, to donate to me. All right. Don't make my Oilers have to contribute their income. Okay, come on, chip in.
Take it the way. A new liberal court can go back and just smack that shit down. The pardons. The Supreme Court is the one who interprets constitutionality, right? So in theory, you could get a Supreme Court, a liberal Supreme Court saying mass preemptive pardons by the President of the United States. That's not what the founders intended because it's a get out of jail free card by the President of the United States. They could interpret that sort of thing that way. Or the self-pardon. There are constitutional scholars who argue, I don't know if they're right because it hasn't been tested yet, that the self-pardon by the President is unconstitutional because it violates a bedrock principle that the President can't basically be the criminal and the judge at the same time. He can't give himself a get out of jail free card as well. And to pack the Supreme Court, you don't need a constitutional amendment. I agree with you. We're not going to see that anytime soon. 27 amendments in 250 years, not going to happen. All you need is a federal statute.
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, Trump could have the power to order the military to break him out of prison. Okay? He probably has the power to do that. Unironically, he probably has the power to order as commander-in-chief. He could probably order the military to break him out of prison. And that's how cucked it is. It just feels extremely cucked. Like that just feels very, very cucked. Like that feels horrible.
To expand the court.
Okay.
Can I?
You can respond, but we do have callers that are begging.
There was one. Like we have to get to this. We have to get to this. I promise you, it'll be worth it.
Oh no.
I'll ask Jessiah. Okay. Do you acknowledge that you will need a mandate from the public to execute these kinds of like really extraordinary measures?
Unless Democrats are willing to do it without campaigning on Democrats, I mean the lawmakers, yes, you probably need some sort of a buy-in from the public.
After having to be bedridden on steroids for 10 days with nothing but IV food, I'm like Cisco with a punching bag, except I'm constantly resisting the urge to bite the sandbag. What landed you in the hospital, my dude? I think of it from the perspective of self-defense. Mag has the arm thrown back, ready to swing, and Hutch is arguing they haven't actually hit you yet. Yes, exactly.
Look, not necessarily though. Like in theory, you could have every Democratic
Pretty sure I've brought up the self-defense talking point too.
Candidate in the House and the Senate and the presidency never talk about this shit and just have like a secret deal that as soon as we win the presidency, yeah.
I think the example that I came up with is someone has a gun, they're loaded, they're pointed at you, and somebody's going, well, you might as well just hand them the cash. You wouldn't want them to pull the trigger, right?
Both chambers of Congress.
or like, oh, why would you like defend yourself and attack them first? You know, it's not like they pulled the trigger. How do you know they're going to shoot you?
We can pounce on this shit, but otherwise, yes, you probably need to build and spend the political capital.
Who decides when the coast is clear? Who decides when these extreme kind of measures are no longer necessary? Who decides when we're, quote, like back to normal and like MAGA has been sufficiently dominated?
As far like to my satisfaction, or you're saying in practical terms?
I mean, someone has to decide, right?
In
like
practical terms, it would be party leadership if they're given the levers of power.
Okay. And if they derive their power from the voters, the next question I want to ask you is really important. What signs are you seeing in the electorate currently that they would back an explicitly partisan, we must entirely crush MAGA kind of approach?
I don't think that that's how they should. I don't think that that's how necessarily how Democratic candidates should campaign on it. I think in blue districts you could probably campaign on a partisan. We're going to hold the Trump administration accountable. John Ossoff in a purple swing state like Georgia probably has to go with just an aggressive general accountability metric. But yeah, I think that you can.
It's not about campaigns. It's about like once you get power, you don't want to do a situation where you do so many things that are so extreme that you would give the
massive cellulitis infection from a tooth. I put off getting worked on. Massive infection nearly swelled my throat shut from all the bile in my jaw. I'm fine now, just weak and coming down from the steroids. That sounds fucking awful. Okay. Cellulitis is fucking awful. Blood poisoning, I'm assuming. Emergency situation, probably. Maybe did you have sepsis? That's a life-threatening condition.
Republicans like a supermajority the next cycle, right? You wouldn't want to do that, right?
Well, again, like some things I would be willing to lose elections over, like prosecuting Trump. Yeah, I'd be willing to. Like that's why I answered when you and I had our disagreement earlier. And I was answering Wick.
Okay, so in your situation, we've done these extraordinary measures. They hit their power level. They take office. We do a really partisan, maybe weaponize agencies, just crush MAGA approach.
I reject the premise of that. I disagree with the premise of that it's inherently partisan or it's weaponized. I disagree with that.
Oh yeah, if you ever die, can you like go to heaven or hell and get like an autograph from Jeffrey Epstein and bring it back, please?
It's not inherently partisan to set a goal of like members.
Did we keep the House? Fuck.
Okay, we're skipping forward, okay?
Actors. I agree, punishment and accountability is one, but another one is to sever political capital. I feel like that's what I never hear people talk about. And sometimes people are willing to say, like, okay, we can do things that might be like seen as like against the norms or seen as corrupt, but that risk political capital and makes
people
feel
some of the political capital things. If you thought you were going to get fucked by supporting somebody like Donald Trump, then maybe when you're doing your Senate confirmation hearings, maybe you don't just go ahead and confirm any random drunk Fox News host to any crazy fucking position on the cabinet. Maybe you stop and think about those things, right? Because even for the crazy running everything from the White House that Trump does, he still at the very least kind of sort of needs his cabinet people, right? But every single Republican in the Senate seems to be going along with it, despite the fact you guys are saying over and over again that it's.
They moved 3 cantaloupes worth of fluid from the infection. Thankfully, I dodged sepsis. They had to fly me out across the Appalachian Mountains down to the valley in Louisville. What? Where do you live? What the fuck? Okay.
Disastrous for the party. They still see it as politically beneficial for them to do so.
They're short term though, right? They are trading short, like they get short term gains, but in the long term, they are getting crushed. They're going to regret this decision.
The idea of the Senate being in place
coming back.
Bingo,
The
right?
Department of Education is gone. It might not come back. A lot of the big legislation that Biden passed, parts of it are gone. Who the fuck knows if it'll come back?
The idea of this Senate being in place is insane, right? You agree? Wait, Destiny, you agree that this Senate being in place is insane concerning the Senate map, right? That's like an insane thing to be happening right now, right?
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, so we did take a hit. The fact that Republicans are going to lose a Congress in this disastrous of a way is crazy.
Next time they try to steal the election, they fucking
are we assuming they're going to try to steal the election?
Not that we're going to win every 2 years.
We're on like the 27th fucking shutdown of the government because these motherfuckers can't do anything. They can't even hold on to their House majority seats. They don't give a fuck about Congress.
If it doesn't matter,
we can use Congress, can't we? You talk about the process going down people. Can't we use Congress to like if
we have a president? Once we have a president and we get rid of the filibuster, we could. But you guys
I wonder what all of you were saying.
Wait, I wonder what all of you support right now for the American public for getting rid of the filibuster, or is that still broadly supported by the American public?
Say that one. I just started to say again.
Where's the American public at on support for the filibuster?
There's not a lot of polling for that. That's not something that gets asked a lot, but it's usually like I don't know.
Anything else? We should wait until the voters have a consensus. Like Prop 50, I don't think Gavin Newsom should have like introduced this prop. I think we should have just like waited until all the Californians came together and was like, actually, maybe we should fight back, and then Gavin Newsom could have done it, right?
No, I understand the referendum was actually us asking the Californian.
I forgot how much I enjoy Louisville. It's right along the Ohio River that cuts through Kentucky. I used to fish there with a, oh, you're a rural person. I live on the Appalachian Mountain Range, so the roads take forever. Oh yeah, you're super rural. What the fuck? Must be the fucking middle of nowhere, small town horror type shit. Hopefully you won't get stalked by some serial killer out there. Good luck. It was 1 hour by helicopter versus the 8 hours by car. Even 1 hour by helicopter alone seems kind of crazy. I don't know. Also, I am fucking dead scared of helicopters. I feel like helicopters are like the single most volatile like fucking aircraft. Fuck me, dude.
People, are you okay with this? That's the process.
If you ask them before they introduce the legislation, not a single fucking person would know what we were talking about. You had to actually introduce something and tell them and manufacture this.
Soy Pill, do you concede that it's easier for a governor of a blue state with a blue supermajority to whip support for retaliatory redistricting compared with something like let's add 150 states in DC?
It is not just easier.
It's like 1,000 times easier.
Right,
so this
is
but
just be clear, Hutch. You say if we can't do it as a prop, if Illinois decides to do it legally within the system, not even anything extrajudicial, if they could do that, you wouldn't support it. right?
Yes, because norms aren't about the legality.
No, it's legal. Who cares, right?
I'm saying that I think
if a norm about not gerrymandering, yes, we care. But if someone breaks the norm first,
okay, yeah, and they're breaking the norm. And Hutch said, I wouldn't support the person.
Do you support kidnapping Congress members to get the filibuster undone?
Wait, no. Was this a serious proposition?
Is this Endgame or Civil War? It would be Civil War. Endgame is when everyone has to reluctantly team up together against MAGA. Okay, I guess technically speaking. Okay, like if you really want me to be technical with it.
Honestly, I don't think Destiny.
Helicopter, helicopter. Indian singing that is actually a banger.
I'm talking about how earlier in this debate, Hutch said that we should not gerrymander Illinois if it was not in the same way as a prop system.
I said
you literally did. You literally said no. I don't think I would support that, which is I asked.
I tried to clarify. Maybe I didn't do a good job. I'm saying I would prefer putting it to voters because that has more legitimacy.
That's saying I wouldn't support it. And either way, what you're doing is weaponizing an institution. You're saying I want to disenfranchise Republicans, something we both agree is bad because it's going to fight back against their weaponization, right?
Well, where are you going with this? Where are you going with this?
That there's obviously a threshold, and you kind of almost got to this. There's obviously a fucking threshold where you'll say, you know what, I'll do bad things, right?
Like bad things? That would mean
like disenfranchising Republicans.
I'll tell you very clearly. If we're
already having stalked, I grew up in Lovecraft country. Lovecraft country? Do you mean like Lovecraftian, or do you mean like that is the name of the fucking thing? Been stalked? Rural places? What the fuck? That would make me move to a city immediately.
in a situation where the voters can't remove the party because they don't like what they're doing, and the Congress cannot rein in the executive, and the judiciary cannot put a check on power. And like if those guardrails are gone, then we're off to the races.
Okay, so what percentage? Because you seem to be very reactive and not proactive. I need to ask because this is like the whole crux of the conversation. Talk to me for 10 minutes, Wick. All right.
Jesus. Rose from Hamlet. Yeah, Hamlet the town from Darkest Dungeon.
No, what's the threshold? What's the threshold? You believe that you need to be proactive in stopping someone from potentially dismantling democracy. What's the threshold? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? Is it 90%?
You would have to have a lot of confidence, or a reasonable amount of confidence. You would have to have a reasonable basis to assume or to know that this is inevitably going to happen.
Okay, so when his vice president says, "I'll do it again next time it happens," is that enough?
No, it's not. Frankly, it's not. No.
We can't take Hutch seriously.
This is rhetoric. Listen to me. This is rhetoric. There's a difference between rhetoric and the actual guardrails, the actual pillars no longer being there. If we get to the midterms, hang on. If we get to the midterms and they go off without a hitch.
Yeah, you know what? I think this kind of applies here to Hutch, okay? What did the narrator said? Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Yeah, that sounds about right for this.
They are like, if we take back the Senate and we take back the House, are you guys going to concede that maybe the acute threat is not quite as existential?
No, because we won in 2020 and he tried to overthrow the election.
Also,
the Congress can still check the president. The court can still check the president.
If he does the same America, he uses ISIS, if we don't have free and fair elections, will you please admit that as we're dying together in some death camp in fucking Toledo, Ohio, that you...
I've raised my own food. I've had to hunt to keep my family fed. MAGA don't scare me when they talk about civil war. Yes, I mean Lovecraftian. Childhood home is basically the Dunwich horror. Okay, I don't believe you until you've shown pictures, okay? That sounds like it's really out there, okay? Show the farm they have. Show the forest that you have. Show the shit that you have, okay? That seems... Okay, I believe you when you say you live in the rural areas, because I've had viewers who live in the rural areas, but you said that you're like the main provider of your family, like you hunt deer for yeah, I'm not gonna believe that until I see it.
You're wrong. Will you admit that before we go into shower?
That's the point. I will join you.
This is not serious. Wait, this is not serious. The idea that we're not gonna have free and fair elections. I mean, the SAVE Act is not passing. First of all, second of all,
it's not. No, it's not.
Well, fine, then we don't have to put him in jail.
Well, thank God for the filibuster.
But be clear, if there's a legitimate risk to elections, wait, 1 second.
Let's address the elephant. No, don't 1 second. No, Stormwind. Don't 1 second.
Did you just call him Stormwind?
Let's address the certitude that you have that MAGA is like KIA after this is insane. You guys were probably saying the same shit after 2020. Oh my God! Not only did we win the presidency, not only did we keep the House. Fuck, we flipped Georgia. We flipped Georgia. We flipped both seats. We snatched them both away. And kept the majority.
Who said that they were KIA if we win the midterms? Who said that?
You guys are so confident that he's cooked.
Are you not confident that we're going to take back the House at least? Like, are you not confident?
You know what I love? You know what I love about that? I just said how certain. I'm not saying that. And then exactly. I was just picking on him for that, and he's like, "Wait, you're not certain? Listen, I'm reasonably confident that we're going to take back the House."
Okay, we agree then. What is the issue?
You're right. Wick, we can call it. We took back that. Sure, we had the White House, the House, and the Senate from 21 until January 2025, but we don't have to worry because we're going to have the House.
None of that matters because Trump won an election once. So all this Democratic majority that we've had for years.
If you're realistic, if your win condition is, I guess, indefinite.
No, motherfucker. Trump won an election after insurrection. Wick. Trump won an election after insurrecting. Okay, there's a big difference between Trump winning an election and Trump winning an election after insurrection. What the fuck?
just block Republicans from winning elections. I don't think that's realistic.
No one is saying block Republicans. We're saying block people that support the insurrectionists. Don't we have that's their problem. Don't we have a fucking law banning the fucking Communist Party? And
you're asking for a way to deal with you're saying that short-term gains don't matter. You're saying that short-term gains don't matter.
He says they matter.
Short-term gains. We can make sure.
Wait, we do? We do actually have a law banning the Communist Party? I didn't even know that.
Short-term gains. But what's happening is the Republicans come in, they do long-term damage. The Democrats come in, and they make a little bit of short-term patchwork. Then we get another set of Republicans.
To be clear, this is short-term gains. When we talk about how we need to have the accountability and you guys don't care if we lose future elections, that is short-term gains. What's to stop the next Republican president? Wait, what's to stop the next Republican president from coming in and being even more brutish? Because they say, oh, well, I know they're going to come after me.
They know that he'll go to jail if he tries that, which they haven't done.
Do you think Trump doesn't know he's going to go to
Oh, wow. Hey, look, it's SFO. I wonder if he's going to comment in any way whatsoever, or he's going to stay quiet this entire time.
He's not. He's not. Right?
We can consult the entire record. Every single conservative right now is acting as though they will never be held accountable. So when you keep saying, well, what happens when the next person comes in and they think bad things, they already think that nothing bad will happen to them. That's how they're acting right now. You're just refusing to have some accountability.
No, Soy Pill, ask your question again. No one heard you because
you guys are pretending like, oh, guys, look, you're making my point. See, look, Trump's fucking mugshot is in the thing. No, he didn't go to jail for the felonies. He didn't go to jail for January 6th. He didn't go to jail for anything. He faced zero consequences. He got all of the martyrdom, none of the consequences. Fox News actually faced fucking consequences. And absolutely, if you put these people in jail, it would be like Nixon, where he says, holy shit, I may actually fucking go to jail. I need to resign and I need to be part of it. Because if I don't, I'm going to face consequences. And if you said that, oh, I won't be dissuaded, well, good, then throw them all in jail so they can't do anything anyway. It doesn't matter. But then the future
do you agree? Do you agree?
not engaged in the amount of lying to the extent that which is why that was so important. I'm not saying they're good.
Do you agree that like conservatives in this country have been propagandized for like 10 decades and tens of millions of people genuinely believe that Democrats are godless communists who want to destroy the nuclear family, want to destroy God, that want to mutilate children, that want to like make everybody friends? Okay, what the fuck are you saying when you say like, you know, we do these draconian measures and throw a bunch of people in jail and they're going to be like, oh, it's not draconian, like the things that you
if he hadn't thrown the Jack Smith case out and when you got elected, do you think it would have been draconian to follow through on it?
That's not draconian, but what are you proposing that goes beyond like DOJ doing what they do?
Do you think that we should operate within the system to the extent? Let me finish. Do you think that we should operate in the system to the extent the Republicans are to prosecute Trump?
Do I think that we should operate within the system to the extent that the what does that even mean? Like,
okay, hey, look, I'm not breaking the ECA. I'm exploring this novel idea based on a 1971 Hawaii case where I'm sending alternative electors, right? That's fine, right?
No, I think you should. If you want the strongest prosecution against anyone, you need like the public to back you when you're doing this.
Why?
And if you do it, what do you mean?
The public doesn't even fucking understand.
Do you understand the criminal justice system requires
doesn't just rely on the court of public opinion. It relies on providing the evidence through the DOJ.
It absolutely requires the faith of the people that it serves. The criminal justice system doesn't work if people don't have faith in it. And if you do it,
they don't have faith in it now. Democrats are polling awfully right now. Individual Democrats are doing well, but the Democratic Party is polling awfully right now because people in part think they're fucking feckless because they won't go after the people for doing the very obvious crime. And the Trump people don't have faith in the courts because they use like, you know, propagandize them, like you said. So no one has faith in the courts. Why do you think that actually following through on the law is going to reduce faith in the courts?
At what point does somebody make an effort to try to get people to have more faith in the institution of like DOJ?
I'm saying that prosecuting people for their crimes and the way that we have not done with Trump is going to restore more faith in doing
things. He was prosecuted in 4 different jurisdictions, bro. He was prosecuted in 4 different jurisdictions.
Following through on it.
There was no accountability for Trump in any of those jurisdictions. There was no accountability.
The voters decided that. The voters decided that.
Criminal justice is up to a vote. I thought he was in court with judges and shit. Fuck me.
It's literally, he's the only exception. He is literally the president.
Okay, one at a time.
That's correct.
I want to hear. Am I wrong?
He's not wrong. No, Hutch is entirely correct.
Go ahead, North.
Oh God, is North just here to fucking dick suck Hutch? Where the fuck is North? North, why the fuck are you in here? Are you just like here to suck Hutch's dick? Like what? Oh my God, dude. The first thing you've said this entire thing when you came in was, oh, Hutch is absolutely correct. Oh my God.
As a quick reality check, so we keep saying Fox News was held accountable. 23 different Fox News contributors are now in some way or form part of the current administration, and Fox News is the largest news network in the United States of America. So I don't know, whatever punishment they're getting, that sounds like the best punishment in the world. We should treat our own like that, okay?
They lost about 800 million.
What I'm saying is they didn't rely on their network. It's not nearly so good as
earlier. No, I agree with Soy Pill. You asked a question earlier. You're like, what's to stop Republicans from going even crazier than Trump, right? Isn't that what you asked earlier? I want to make this very quick. Okay. Why should we prosecute Trump at all? Or don't we run the risk of any sort of accountability effort against Trump? You could make the argument, isn't that where we are right now? Trump is as insane as he is in term 2 in part. Doesn't that you say that all the time? They came after me, I'm going to come after them.
Josiah, do you remember I don't know if you remember last week, my whole argument was we have to do this in a way that that needs to seem legitimate, that the people don't buy into these arguments, right? That it's about restoring faith in institutions. But I also want to something else. But a lot of them. Well, one thing I think would be a good idea that I proposed last time was like a bipartisan corruption committee that just broadly does similar to Jan 16. That broadly.
Oh, wow, that worked really well.
January 6th select committee, that was bipartisan. They didn't participate. They said no, fuck you.
And how many people are arrested because of it?
Nobody didn't participate because they said fuck you.
Preferably, SFO should have talked more because I find it fascinating how awkward Hutch is when SFO asks the same questions. Why is it that Hutch respects SFO? What's going on here? Does SFO have some kind of dirt on Hutch or something?
Republicans, wait, people who work in January 6th didn't get arrested?
I, for one, will never be intimidated by SFO, except when he first called into my stream, I think, like years ago. And then after that, I just started disrespecting him.
They all got pardoned. No, none of the politicians did. All the politicians had executive privilege and they got off.
They got pardoned after they won the election afterward.
Right. So well, yeah, my point.
Oh God, SFO comes in, immediately starts breathing heavily. Of course, SFO. Amazing entrance right there.
Is this idea, I need you to stop giving a fuck about what how hard Republicans might hit us back if we defend ourselves. You gotta let that go. That's abuse victim. That's abuse victim mentality.
I have a very important question for the panel. I have a very important question for the panel. All right. Okay. If you go after these prosecutions, do you think that you're going to win at all?
Hell yeah.
Like, okay, are you willing to risk the chance that these prosecutions are going to lose, and that might like vindicate them in the eyes of the American people?
Sure.
Wait, what prosecutions are you talking about?
Murder or whatever.
I don't know, these theoretical prosecutions that these people are advocating for, I guess.
North, do you feel like the Republicans lost horribly when they didn't get to convict or even indict Hillary Clinton? Do you think all the Republicans like, oh no, we fucked up the Hillary Clinton shit. We didn't even get an indictment.
No, they didn't lose.
Hold on. You understand that much of MAGA and the Republican base are angry at Kash Patel. They're angry at Pam Bondi. They're angry at Trump because they haven't been able to prosecute these things, and they ran on prosecuting.
That wasn't up to the party. There wasn't,
and then they and many of them are not supporting. Hold on, shut up. Many of them are not supporting. Shut up. Many of them are not supporting the party anymore, and that is one reason.
Hello, moderator. Where's the moderator? Oh fuck.
Clear. What you're saying.
Oh shit, I lost where I was. Whatever. I don't care anymore. I see woman, we give her a chance to talk.
All right, I got one last question.
No, that was it. I love you, buddy.
I got one more.
We got people.
Real quick.
What? No.
All
right, we got people. That's been waiting for a long time.
That was the question. That was the kill shot question.
A little bitch after SCOTUS dropped down tariffs that he like went to bed and he was like, man, but at least I added like a couple billion to the budget. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that I like.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry. Repeat that again.
When Trump was crying like a little bitch after SCOTUS shut down the tariffs, and he's like, man, I'm glad they let me do it for a year so I could like close the budget a little bit, really get rid of that deficit. Like, was that like in his mind? Was he super happy about that?
No, I'm sure he'd like to further continue to enrich himself and his family for another 3 years. Like, obviously, he wanted, nobody here, as far as I'm aware, I don't think even Destiny is claiming that this is the outcome Trump wanted from SCOTUS. I'm just saying that it's not the kill shot you seem to think it is, Mitty, because
I don't think it's a kill shot that I love SCOTUS. I just think
You'd call Hutch a bitch? Yeah, Jessiah has never been more mean and more forceful than when he's debating Hutch. Not even towards Pisco, not even towards anybody. And you know what? I fully understand, okay? Pisco, you know that this guy is egotistical, all right? You know that this guy is full of it, all right? But Hutch, he debates, okay, I'm just gonna say this guy, he debates like a woman, okay? And women trigger me.
It's like, I see SCOTUS, barring the exceptions that you may have brought up, which would be a kill shot. That would be a kill shot. I'm not trying to like...
He actually has the right to kill shot you as long as he gives the military the order. That's a pretty big fucking deal.
I trust the men and women.
I'm just saying, this is all we're saying. I pray for the day. May the losses that Donald Trump experiences find the Democratic Party, okay? That's what I pray for. That we have single-payer healthcare for 2 years before the court says, sorry, you got to go to a public option. But I pray to lose in the way that Donald Trump loses, all right?
Wait, we talked about how Biden's agenda
consequences of losing all the offices next time. We already did that, but we didn't get any of the other...
We talking about how the Supreme Court...
That's just mainly reacting vibes and trigger words because usually Destiny, Ryan, and SFO are saying the same thing, but in 3 different tones of civility. What? Yeah, that sounds retarded. Sorry, not that you are retarded, but if that's true, that's just retarded.
Stop Biden more, and sure, and it sounds right to me, obviously, like it does, but like that's all in his executive agenda.
Oh, Josiah did unload on him when Pisco misinterpreted his tweets. No, I remember now. Oh, Josiah did unload on him when he said that when Pisco were making fun of Josiah's super chat to Live and Learn.
And there's like, I think there's a fringe thing about like medical district.
Hutch does debate like a woman. You're making me sad. True. But that's not even what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking about the part where he deflects all the time. It feels like, okay, the reason why I say this is because it feels like it's like if you and your partner get into an argument and it's a very difficult fight, okay? The reason why it's so difficult is because it's not productive, okay? It's not actually about resolving the issues. It's always just a bunch of deflections. No, you did this, you did that, and then, oh, you're too online. You're being unhinged right now. Like, that's, yeah.
But his legislative agenda was not like neutered by SCOTUS.
How much of Project 2025 needs to pass before you say he's winning?
112%.
Through Congress?
How much of Project 2025 needs to get done before you're like, Trump's doing some stuff?
What is he codified in a permanent way?
Trump? Nothing.
Why are you shaking your head?
Because it doesn't matter. You fucking dismantle the Constitution.
No.
Fucking years of experience, and then pretend like, well, we can put it back in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. We'll be fine.
10, 20, 30, 40 years. We're talking about this year.
No. You fucked this country. You fucked. No. Let me talk. You fucked our trade relationships. You fucked our trading partners. You fucked the intelligence sharing. You fucked these institutions.
Nobody's making the argument that it hasn't done.
This is not. Oh, cool.
This was the whole framing of the conversation. No one's arguing that damage hasn't been done. We're talking about success.
On this point, I do agree. The Soy Pill, you're fucking retarded. Don't you realize that we could literally spend the entirety of our presidential election rebuilding the shit that Trump tore down unilaterally? You dumb fuck.
I'll declare that a win. I'll declare that a win.
We don't have to. We can do it in like a month with executive orders. Jesus.
When we get already Trump-proofing these things. In 10 years after 9/11, 2011, when we've built the first 10 floors of the second North Tower.
I don't know what to tell you guys.
Great job, guys. Let's show Osama.
Hold on. It's the boring answer.
It's the boring answer. We've fallen out of our car.
It's the boring answer, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how to spice it up to get you guys excited about it. But the roadmap is clear. Like, if you want to deal with a threat like Donald Trump and close loopholes and make it more difficult for someone like Trump to enact an agenda in the future, the answer is to build a consensus and do reforms. That is how every fucking country.
You can if you advocate for that, Vlad. People want blood. You gotta give them blood, even if it hurts the electorate, even if it hurts the Democratic Party. They want blood. It's gonna boost your algorithm, right? It's gonna boost your algorithm, right? You're gonna get you're gonna get hurt.
What's the reform that would have stopped Trump?
Yeah.
For specifically what? The DOE?
What's the reform that you think would have stopped Trump from doing the shit that he's done so far?
Budget fencing, self-executing principles. Like these are all things
around self-executing, man.
No, it's not. It was not rigorously written.
Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was self-executing. And they were like, no.
Okay, I want to hear from the caller inners because they've been caller
inners. Followed it if he had just read it and was like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that.
What is the alternative?
2026 budget.
What is the alternative? Literally, what is the alternative?
I'm sorry, just one more. When the Constitution said that insurrection shall not hold office, they should have thrown a must in there to capitalize it. Shall.
You disagree with all 9 Supreme Court justices.
Everybody here agrees with court reform.
Yes, I do.
Okay, but that means you're probably wrong.
But how build consensus?
Hold on, no, you understand. Can you at least admit that you disagree with all 9 Supreme Court justices? Liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA means you're probably not correct on this issue.
No, it does not. It does not. I think they made their decision for prudential reasons.
That you probably are. Now, it's possible that you're not.
I think they made their decision for prudential
strongly that you were probably incorrect in your interpretation.
And I cannot believe you're still calling.
I think we need to add more people. I think we need to add Pisco. I think we need to add J-Stock. I think we need to add Queeman. I think that we should just have everybody in there, okay? All right? More people, the better, okay? We should just have infinite people, okay? It'll be fantastic.
Get into question. You are insane for even thinking that at all the president's brother who was governor of that state might have stolen that. That's insane that you think.
Right. But Hutch, I want to press you on this because you said build consensus.
Press away.
Build consensus for Supreme Court reforms. How do we do that in your mind?
You do that through effective messaging. You do that through effective politicking. You do it through effective governance. You do it through demonstrating to the public, draw a contrast with Trump's corruption. Like, position yourself as the party that is actually trying to restore faith in these institutions. You do it through the same way any political movement. Like, we are being given a really big opportunity right now because like the losses are so immense right now that we could theoretically build like a pretty big consensus, like enough to get rid of the filibuster in the next Congress.
But we could win. We could put Republicans in the wilderness for the next 20 years if we do this right. But if we do the things that you guys are advocating for, we're going to have one term, and that's it.
That's not true. How are you going to put Republicans in the wilderness? What? Like, even the things that Wick is saying here, like, makes no sense. How are you putting Republicans in the wilderness? Like, what? I just don't understand. I don't understand anything that this motherfucker is talking about all the time. Oh God.
So wait a minute, Hutch. So you said build consensus by messaging. So, and again, I'm not going for Hutch. I'm confused here.
No, by more than just messaging. I said more than there, but go ahead.
Okay, but so we are going to have to talk about it and get the American people to buy into Supreme Court reform, right?
Of course.
We're going to have to tell the American people, hey, we want to expand the court. We want to add term limits. We want a binding code of conduct.
You want to do anything, bro. That's what you got to do. That's democracy, right?
Why is this news? Why do I need to explain this? No, it is news. It is news. And I'm not crazy because I know Soy Pill can vouch for me on this. I could have swore that you and I have gone round and round and round and round over a span of months where you basically told me that Democrats need to shut the fuck up about Supreme Court reform because it's a low salience and it's controversial.
I said that timing does need to matter. Maybe it's not a good idea to start like running on packing the court like fucking 4 months into the Republican trifecta. You understand that?
I'm gonna pack your nuts with my foot. Okay, so when is it okay? When is it okay?
Okay, no.
When is it?
Destiny, I don't know why you're laughing. When we had the conversation with Laksha, when we had the conversation with Laksha, I'm gonna keep saying it. When we had the conversation with Laksha, what did he say about like in terms of trying to actually move the public one way or another? Like, when is the time to do that? During the campaign or when you actually have power?
I don't
remember what he said. He said when you're running a campaign, it's usually just about like going to where the voters are at, and then when you're in power, that is when you can try to build some kind of consensus, right?
But when in power, because I assume so. It's not an election year, right?
Wait.
Hutch worships anybody and states anybody who agrees with him. demeans other people who don't agree. Okay.
Also, hold on. You said didn't you say 4 months in wouldn't be the time to do it?
I really am.
I said 4 months into a Republican trifecta when they control the Congress and they could just get rid of the filibuster tomorrow and pass the SAVE Act, right? So do you understand the potential downside
of always going to be running for elections when they're in power? Like,
do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand the strategic idea of maybe not like running on that like 4 minutes into a red trifecta when they can use the weapon that you want to wield 4 years from now?
I thought this is when we were like coming up to being really strong. No?
No, I'm talking about like Josiah thinks he found some kind of inconsistency, and it's not. I said that you have to be. No, you didn't. I said that you have to be tactical. Josiah, do you understand the tactical benefit of maybe not running on things?
We loop on this so much.
Do you not understand the tactical benefit of maybe not running on getting rid of the filibuster 4 months into a red trifecta when they can get rid of it?
We loop on this so much. It's not that there's like not some tactical consideration. The problem is that it feels like the Republicans create the conditions necessary to win, whereas you want to wait for the conditions that the Republicans are the ones that are always in charge of. That's the issue.
Evening. Why are you just quiet on this panel this whole time? You didn't even say anything. Yeah.
Republicans don't.
You inflate Republicans. Like, do you understand that they have not been a particularly strong party during the era of Trump? You don't accept this. You just don't acknowledge this. You think that they've been this electoral powerhouse, and they haven't. They've had 2 successful election cycles.
I might have spoken up like 45 times over 2 hours. It's okay. The slow speaker gets the most attention. Okay, I'm sure.
Albeit they were pretty important, 2016 and 2024. And the Democrats have had 3 good election cycles during that time. We're about to have another one. It's going to be 4 out of 2. You are overstating. You are overstating Donald Trump's ability to move public opinion on stuff. Like, look at his numbers on every fucking issue right now.
I'm gonna press you on 2 things. First, which were the 3? You conceded that they had 2 big wins, that they were 2 and there were 2 big wins. Which were our 3, and how many of them were big?
2018, that was a blue wave election. 2020, we made him the first fucking one-term president since 1992 with a trifecta. We won 2 really close runoff elections in Georgia. That was really fucking big. So they weren't big majority.
You have the 1980s Hong Konger drip today. I don't know what to make of that. I have no idea what you mean by that. Is my fashion good? Is it bad? I don't know what you're saying.
But they were big wins.
No, I understand. You said big. You said Trump won big, presumably because he got the White House and in a trifecta and all those things.
Yeah,
so I'm saying of our 3 wins, which ones were big wins?
Well, the biggest was 2020. The biggest was 2020 in terms of like
they've had 2 big wins and we've had 1. And we've had 2.
We've had 1 big win and 2 smaller wins, but we're about to have Again, I don't know why you guys.
That's fine. I want to hear it. But number 2, the second thing is, so again, I'm going to keep pressing you on this. So we agree that it's okay to message and to try to persuade the American people to get into aggressive reform, Supreme Court reform, things.
That's what the primaries are for. That's what the primaries are for, bro.
No, you said after we're in power.
No, hold on.
You look cool, to be honest. You
guys want to run on aggressive court packing, run candidates, if they advance to the primaries, go for it.
No, I'm asking you. Fuck Hutch and I'm asking you, or fuck Soy Pill and I'm asking what your preference is. Because now you're saying we can do it, but when we're in power, but presumably not during an election year, right?
No. I think right now is a different situation because they are weakened in a way that they weren't about a year ago. He was kind of strong in the first few months of his presidency. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. But we can do it in this election cycle.
There's more latitude right now because they don't have enough consensus right now to even pass the fucking SAVE Act, let alone get rid of the filibuster. They're fucked right now. Like, Donald Trump's not going to get.
And I'm old. And the worst part of it is that I'm old now. Okay, that's the worst part. Is that I'm aging at an exponential rate.
The SAVE Act.
I want to give some room. I want to give some caller enters. We got B and Lana here. What do you have to say? Contribute.
What's going on?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Appreciate that. Hutch, can you tell me what guardrails? No, I'm just kidding. No guardrails.
I'm gonna Minecraft myself, I swear.
No, I think so. I just general question, like, what is the largest criticism you guys think is of the current Democratic Party from average Joe? Like, if you were to walk up to some random person on the street, what would you say the largest criticism would be? Like, if you were to say like a few words, what would it be?
They're weak and out of touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Weak, out of touch, have
ineffective.
You guys heard controlled opposition?
Would you say that they don't communicate well?
Would you say like controlled opposition would be like up there with probably being weak?
That's more like the online left. That's like the online left saying that. That's like a niche crowd that use that kind of language.
Well, I mean, like I was in Florida for a bit, but
yeah, just real quick. I mean, I think we have data on this, and I don't think you're gonna like the data. I think the biggest issue is trans issues. That's the biggest thing that's holding.
Okay, that's not true. That's not true.
No, I think he was asking for.
Is that not true?
No, I think he was asking for descriptions, and for the word cloud polls that I've seen are like weak, ineffective, feckless, out of touch.
So I think it's weird. Like we talk about, taking the fight to them and how it might give us the wrong image to like the general voting public. But it sounds like if we are taking the fight to them, that would kind of counter that narrative. I mean, that's what my kind of rationale.
Yeah, you can be aggressive and still meet my conditions for like what I think would be ideal. I never said don't be aggressive. Be aggressive within the boundaries of the system. But as soon as you start, go ahead.
Kind of what maybe Destiny said it or something. But like Josiah said it. When you have Trump and company and his family up there, and you're saying, hey, these people are robbing you. You're making them into.
You're fossilizing before our eyes. Yeah, no kidding. I feel ancient. Okay, I feel actually ancient.
Kind of like the target for a lot of hate. That gets you an ability to push for more agenda, right?
You should do that. You should absolutely run on them being corrupt and like doing the meme coin stuff. 100%.
Okay.
Don't you turn him into the underdog that way?
No,
This is why
I don't
so
think
many
so.
people kind of like Trump, isn't it? Because
No, I don't think so. I think people, I mean, right now Democrats are running on affordability and Trump being corrupt, and it's fucking working really well.
Trump isn't running.
I think Trump showed his ass is blatantly corrupt in a way that he didn't the first time around.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. I think the state of the game is different right now because people in 2019 just saw him as like, he's a little crass. He makes a lot of decisions, but he's like running the country and things are fine. And like right now, the public consensus is that like, oh yeah, this dude's like fucking pumping the government for everything it's worth.
Even walk upstairs, you old fuck. No, I'm dying.
Because like that's like a generally held sentiment.
Okay, and you guys kind of touched on it a little bit, but I actually really want to know. I phrased this question a specific way, but would it be justified for the next Democratic president to use the immunity ruling to its fullest extent in order to have the ruling struck down, so that immunity ruling struck down, and then change the composition of SCOTUS to disallow such rulings?
When you say the fullest extent,
that specific thing.
Yeah,
Wait,
like fullest extent. Absurd hypotheticals for CO2 6 ones. So is that what you're saying?
As full as it's necessary to exact that conclusion.
I would have been, and I said this at the time, I would have been open with Biden saber rattling with the immunity ruling to try to get the court to consider. But the fullest extent, that's yeah.
The answer is yes, by the way.
Yeah. I just want to say
maybe
again,
Biden just watched the conservative justices a couple times.
You don't have to say whether you would do it.
It's a little vague for me, but I just want to point out once again that there was a Gallup poll just recently in December of 2025, and it was like 73% of the country thinks that Republican rhetoric is going too far, and like 67% of the country think that the Democratic Party, their rhetoric, are going too far. That to me does not indicate an appetite for the kind of extreme stuff that you're proposing here.
Yeah, Trump has manufactured the rhetoric that we're saying, hey, this guy's corrupt, is them saying we should like kill him.
No.
Appetite for extreme rhetoric. My ninja. Sorry, I don't even know why I'm pausing.
Hold on, do you understand?
63% of the country says the Democratic rhetoric is going too far. They're talking about the Democratic rhetoric that the Republican media show them.
Yes, exactly. When they figure that, they say, Biden actually saying MAGA.
Listen, it's fucking prophecy or what? Like, you're saying, all right, let's fulfill it then.
Yeah, okay, we're going to become the caricature that MAGA thinks we are. No, we shouldn't do that.
That poll was conducted the day after Destiny Spears' mortgage appearance.
I'll grant you all that. I'll grant you every thing that you're going to say, well, they believe it because of stupid reasons. I'll grant you all of that, but nonetheless, that's a reality that you have to contend with.
The reality, Hutch, is that they're operating like we are being like that. They're enacting laws, they're passing things, they're going after people as if we are this insane, corrupt, evil party, and we're not treating them like they are as evil.
What are you talking about? The blue states all over the country are being so aggressive in their fight against Republicans
Pennsylvania?
right now. What are you talking about?
Pennsylvania, my state. We've seen
people
Prop 50,
Virginia, like Illinois.
We've seen Republican districts that have Republicans held for 100 years.
And we're not doing this on a massive scale.
It's okay.
You just like manufacture something to defend against. Like we're just gonna go outside and defend. We're just gonna go outside and be aggressive. Like what do you mean? Like the states and hold on. The states and the lawsuits and all of these things that we look at as like great examples. Those were tit for tat. Those were some fuckery happened and we backed it. We went towards it. We fought it off. We did our thing. We showed our fucking grit. Like what? Like
Democrats are pulling at 35%.
Whenever you talk, it's just like yeah, the election might be stolen, so we should just like be strong. Like what does that fucking mean?
Yeah, well, several examples have been.
That's literally what Hutch is doing. That's literally what Hutch is doing. Hutch is the one who's like, be strong. Like no, Ninja, we don't even know what the frick you mean by that. You like he's the one saying be strong. We don't know what that means. What do you mean be strong? What the fuck does that mean?
Gone in here already, and we can go over those again. But again, I'm asking you because when I forgot what his name was, but he asked, what's the word that you would use to describe Democrats? And everyone's saying do nothing, feckless, nothing. Why do you think they're polling at 35% despite our really good midterm projections?
Being a minority party sucks ass.
Why?
Because we don't have
every
Yo, this guy is crashing out.
Political party, every political party, when they lose like power the way that the Democrats did throughout history, have seen a considerable dip in polls. The recent one is just I know. I know.
Everything in politics is more extreme now than it was 20 years ago.
And faded.
I understand that, but part of the reason that the poll drop for Democrats in the recent moment has been so bad is like multifaceted and complex. But a main driver of that is we're like losing support within the own base because they lost to Donald Trump twice, and there's really not a lot like we can do at the federal level. Obviously, when we're out of power to change that, and I agree that Schumer should step aside. I'm less like hawkish on pushing Jeffries out, but like there's like I think like things will probably improve. I'm not saying we're going to go to like 60%, but if we blow them out in the midterms, I do think you're going to see those numbers go up like a decent amount when the base we can win.
But Soy Pill's point is that Democrats' projected victory in the midterms is not a function of the Democrats being so fucking awesome. It's because they want to check on Trump. They still hate us. In fact, in some ways, they hate us more than they hate Trump and the Republicans, and the polls bear that out. Number one. Number two. Yes, it is true. I appreciate you can see that. Even Hutch acknowledges that's the case. Okay, we'll get into that in just a second. But the other thing is, as far as God damn it, I had it, and then you interrupted me.
I took it away from you because it was easy to take away things from people who are aggressive all the time, who don't have their foundations.
You said, God damn it.
Can I be vulnerable? Can you please tell me? Like, I guess I.
Also, hey, after so long of Hutch saying we can't advocate for things that aren't already popular and can't try to do things that hurt the ass, like he isn't selling. He's more than selling black pills. He's like giving them out for free.
I missed it. When you say like oh, if we don't do something.
Yeah, so okay, here's an example. How about instead of Congress coming forward and saying, hey, we're going to have this little like feckless vote and say maybe we'll stop Trump from going to Iran until he gives us a reason, we completely block and prosecute and go after this somehow and say, hey, no, you can't fucking just declare war unilaterally, right?
Somehow. What the fuck does that mean?
Just figure it out, bro. It doesn't matter.
How about we hold
do something. Everyone's got to do something.
What if we don't aid consent even just verbally and say, all right, like, hey, maybe we do need to go with war with Iran, but like, I don't know, he's not giving us a reason. You know, like, what if we actually hold him to account? What if we pull a Mitch McConnell and try to block every single fucking appointment until they actually capitulate on something? What if we
what you're asking for is not possible in the current dynamic.
You're also going to get rid of Fetterman.
You have a lot of
what if we get rid of Fetterman?
I want to get rid of Fetterman. The dude's fucking crazy.
Hold on, I remember when you guys did get rid of the guy we had in Pennsylvania, Lamb, who was perfectly good, but you guys were like, oh, he's too moderate, he's too feckless, he's too ineffective. Let's get Fetterman in there. He'll be a fighter. How'd that fucking work out?
I remember what I was going to say now. So you were talking about how the polls show that, on extreme rhetoric, Democrats are not too far behind the Republicans. That's true. What you're seeing here is an asymmetry of perception coming from right-wing media. So, for example, the polling on Trump corruption versus Biden corruption during the 2024 election, it was neck and neck. Like the right wing is able to persuade the American people things about the Democratic Party that are demonstrably not true. We know that Trump is infinitely more corrupt than Joe and Hunter Biden in the most maximal interpretation, but the American people saw it as neck and neck. So my question is, what do you do with those parameters if you're trying to build consensus and change the way?
Off of that question that Josiah's asking, the reason why those perceptions exist is because those are the battlefields that Republicans fight on. We're not perceived as being corrupt by accident. We're perceived as being corrupt because of their corrupt push into investigating Hillary Clinton, because of their obsession with Hunter Biden. That's where our perception of corruptness comes from. And we're always fighting defensively. We're never putting forth an argument of our own. Even if we say we're going to prosecute Trump for illegal with it. What's not true? It's not true. Wait, what did I say?
The idea that Democrats only fight defensively when he was impeached twice, when Democrats all over the country are constantly, every fucking day, talking about Donald Trump's corruption. When we do have like a liberal, like alternative media class that talks about these, it's not just defensive, man. Like when they're in power, it's us.
He won the narrative. Hutch, he won the narrative on every impeachment. Do you understand that?
So we impeach him again.
It's going to work. A slight majority supported both of those.
Do most people agree or disagree that Russiagate was a Democratic hoax?
It wasn't Russiagate that he got impeached for, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? He got impeached for Ukraine. Both impeachments had majority support, bro. You're wrong about this. Look it up.
Most of them might have impeached him in the Congress, but in terms of where the American mind is at on these issues, they won on those topics. The American mind was vindicated on most of these topics. Russiagate was a Democratic fucking hoax.
Russiagate is not. You're conflating Russiagate with the Ukraine thing. It's not the same thing.
Literally, all of it is rolled in together for these people.
It's not. What are you talking about? No, it's not.
Russiagate is not why he was impeached.
That's not why he was impeached. And both impeachments had majority support, soft majority support, but January 6th more than the first one with Ukraine. But you're just wrong that Trump won the messaging war on impeachment. The numbers don't support this. You just do vibes like a lot, Destiny.
Even if he lost, isn't impeachment a defensive action, not an aggressive one?
What would you consider an aggressive action?
Anytime the Republicans are in power, we attack. And anytime we're in power, they attack. That's the nature of fucking politics. That's what when you.
Did Vic just say, sorry, it's like extra funny. Did Vic just say like zip, 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 zip?
When you have power, you're doing things. So you're vulnerable to attack. When you're out of power, you're not doing anything.
We're just ignoring Democratic attacks. What are the equivalent
Destiny, go ahead. Destiny, I want to hear from Destiny.
What are the equivalent Democratic attacks from like the Hunter Biden stuff or the Hillary Clinton stuff? What are the equivalent attacks on our end?
We talked about like, I mean, there are Democrats across the
sexist,
these kids, these fucking kids, the charity thing that they were found to have like defrauded. I mean, like
the average person knows about that, Hutch?
Wait, hold on. Wait, what are you talking about? The charity thing that the kids defrauded?
If you turn on
at Hassan Cinema, bro, we should just have an everyone, okay? Hassan, and then for some reason have Emru inside, and then you should also have, and then you should also add Miskip. I don't know. You might as well just have everyone.
Turn on fucking MSNBC or CNN or Brian Tyler Cohen or any of those other like big liberal channels. Literally every day, you're not going to find.
If you turn on these three things you just named have the same power and weight as the fucking right-wing media machine.
I never said. Why do you make shit up about the things that I said? I never said that.
You are. You said you are overestimating the right-wing media machine to draw narratives. It's just whoever's in power. No, this is not how it works.
Literally, Russiagate is.
We all agree that Russiagate has a massive narrative advantage in the world.
No, we don't. We're not agreeing on that.
Do we agree on that?
The question is, do Republicans have a narrative advantage in the media?
They have. They do. I do.
Fight on everything. So we're always fighting on everything.
They're better funded in alternative media, and they don't have the equivalent of our left flank that there's chipping at our fucking heels every fucking day. And so there are reasons, but I think there is asymmetry. I think the Republicans do have an advantage in media.
Can I ask one question to the other side? Do we feel like compare this time now to? Did I say the right side or the other side?
No, I was telling you should say the right side. Sorry, didn't mean to gaslight you.
I didn't want to call you the right.
No, say your point, Mitty, please.
If
what?
Do we feel like in this moment right now, compared to this moment in 2024, do we feel the difference in like the Democratic, left-leaning, center-left, liberal communication like establishment? Because to me, it's night and fucking day, and I think that comes down.
Barely. Barely. It's not night and day. We're still finding our footing. We're struggling like crazy. We're
I will agree. Totally agree.
People fighting. We gotta do some.
No, totally agree. I think in 2024 there was zero. There was nothing. There was, and the worst of it is that like I've said at the beginning, like Biden was not, all these messages that we're talking about is like, well, if he did this, well, if he did that, well, if he did that. What is fucking Chuck Schumer? I don't know if he was there at the time. Is he gonna run in like 2022 and like lead a national message? Like, you need leaders in these positions. Trump literally, his advantage is that he just says shit. He goes out and makes it other people's problem to defend him. I don't think we should do that necessarily, but like, as much as I hate to say it, like Biden was unable to like fulfill this need of like leading the country and giving us a narrative, and we fumbled. And like, no matter like Destiny, as much as I like, I am a beneficiary of like you sounding the alarm, and like I voted for Trump in 2020. Certainly not gonna do that again. But like, that's not like a national level presence, and like the fucking like entire Republican
one.
Yes, I agree. But we're acting like we're projecting the rules of the game back in time as if that was like something that like Turning Point USA was like Charlie Kirk, like one man showing it for a long time, like investing in this like nothing, and like these are like long-term investments that. I probably exaggerated.
Republicans have been building everything. I also sometimes I think you and Hutch. I feel like you guys think Trump just like spawned from nowhere. Like
no.
Okay, Trump is a natural consequence of all the things that have been happening and building.
Trump is a symptom of a
but
larger
the
problem.
second Trump win,
he's a rash.
The things that it feels like we're drawing from the fact that Trump won a second time, it feels like we're acting like, well, all these things were said. Oh, well, you know, this was that and that was it. But like there was no relay for any information to like anyone my age at all about 98% of the things that Destiny was saying on his stream was completely insulated from like the whole.
Wait, that's what we're saying. We're saying that you're not exposed to the alt media.
That's why big punishments for lawmakers are important, because it's supposed to be the lawmakers that hold the shit in check, because they know that they're going to get fucked. Like, for instance, my guess is
I didn't catch the connection there. What?
Hold on. Nobody in America knows what the fucking blue slip rule is. Right? Is that what it's called? The blue slip rule? Nobody knows what the fuck this is. But people in the Senate care about this shit, right? And they're going to defend it because they want to be able to say fuck no to is for judges, not prosecutors. I think it's for judges, right? And they're saying that they don't like, right? So it's up.
Oh, Foodshops, I love the setup. Thank you.
To the senators to defend.
Well, it's actually both. I'm sorry. It is actually both prosecutors and
well?
yeah.
Oh, prosecutors and
for the Senate. For the Senate. Yeah.
But so they'll defend it. I'm saying this is why my focus is not on the voters. My focus is on the lawmakers. Lawmakers know that if they go along with some fuck shit, that they're going to be in some fuck shit. But if they think there's no consequences, then they'll just allow anything. Because our biggest problem right now, with all this conversation on checks and balances and all this bullshit, if the lawmakers thought that they were going to be held accountable, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The IEPA tariffs would have ended in 90 days because Congress would have exercised their legally authorized oversight. They would have said, okay, you're done, buddy, no more.
Again, I think that the reason, can I have this back and forth, please? I think that the reason we're here is because we basically abdicated, like even in the Obama era, I'd say like the left of the country, the center left, just became about like tuning into daytime TV and like figuring out if you're racist or not. This idea that we're here because good governance and advocating for liberal values.
Okay, I don't think there's any more, but one thing that I have not seen is Hutch still going? Is he still streaming? Oh, no, he's not. Okay, I thought he was still streaming. Okay.
And a Supreme Court reform.
Because I'm curious because I haven't watched this part. This part is Hutch with Soy Pill. Yo, what the hell? Who is that woman?
Like the answer for it. But it's something that I asked the other boys. And first of all, how do I? There we go. Okay.
Okay, so I never seen this before.
In your proposal, and you did say that you might, without getting into.
So I believe this happened after. Okay, so this happened after the panel.
Any specifics, like operate outside of the system to stop what you view to be an acute existential threat. My question to the other guys that I didn't get answered, that I want you to try to tackle, is how will we know when the coast is clear, where we no longer have to use these extraordinary measures, and who decides that? Is there any check on that person who's making that decision?
Yeah, so like this is not a super extreme example, but okay, you would say that like banning MAGA as a party would be pretty extreme, right? That'd be like insane.
Well, in the context of the American Constitution, yeah.
It'd be pretty drastic. So Germany did this post World War II, and these were very extreme circumstances, right? We had a whole world war. We had a very clearly defined, like, what is the Nazi Party? And they've maintained that law till now. And there have been questions as to whether or not this is being implemented unfairly. There are parties that rise that don't define themselves as like the NASDAP or the neo-Nazi party. They're just like, adjacent. And I can say that you could potentially argue that the current AfD is like, full of Nazis. Even if their official platform isn't, it's like, all right, this is pretty explicit. And they still don't use it there. But the point is, there's a debate in the Bundestag between these politicians as to whether or not this is being implemented in a fair way. And I think that you could do something very similar with, hey, I think we need to go after MAGA, who have very clearly violated the 14th Amendment, who have tried to overturn democracy, who we should throw in jail. And if this comes up again in the future, and it's like, hey, we've set the precedent, this is a power that we've used to throw our opponents in jail, this needs to have a very big check. The same way that I say, look, I don't support the death penalty unless there's a super duper infallible amount of evidence that shows that this person did that. And that for some up and coming person who might say some undemocratic things. Okay. Let's say there was let's say fucking Nick Fuentes runs for office. The kind of policies that I would advocate for the kind of like, hey, we need to lock these people up. Hey, maybe we even do this extra.
No, don't worry.
Judicially, or we ban a political party. It doesn't say go after Nick Fuentes because he says, I want to steal the election. Because maybe he's indicating it. But I don't know if you could just do that based on rhetoric, right? Like, you have to be able to discuss these things and plan it. So to be clear, maybe this is something that is discussed in Congress. But the point is, the preemptive locking of these people up is a reaction to what they have already done.
Who is doing the locking up?
True.
Are we talking FBI?
DOJ, potentially FBI. I mean, there's a lot of avenues this could go, right? Like, I'm not going to go ahead and like say that I've been planning this out on my whiteboard with all the red string and making a comprehensive legislative plan.
Well, I mean, like, so we still have a system. So what happens when they lawyer up and, you know, somebody challenges it in the court and the court inevitably says, well, you obviously can't do that.
So this is getting into like the hypothetical, the trilineal thing. Like if you keep pursuing the concept, okay, what if that doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? I mean, like I already agreed with Wick. If every single thing didn't work and it did get to the point where it was like, let's say at this point, it would have to be like, 95, 100% certainty that it was like, okay, they're going to steal the election. We'll never have a fair one. That's when I would support a revolution. But this is like several layers deep into an absurder hypothetical, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. Destiny kind of, his position was like, the feasibility doesn't really matter because if you just get creative enough, you can do anything. I mean, I have like so many issues with that, and I didn't really get a chance to unpack that during the conversation. I just think he's wrong about that. I mean, like Donald Trump, for example, can't just like force the SAVE Act into existence. But this is like one of those things where you're kind of you're suggesting that it's like theoretically possible, and I'm saying I don't think it is. Like I don't understand the mechanism by which you think that.
Why did I start Carapac when I'm streaming right now? I'm literally either gonna die or I'm gonna give bad commentary, okay?
This would just be something that would be tolerated, and there would be
this is the only kill I'm gonna do.
No,
fuck it.
There would be no, like, the system itself would not push back against someone from doing this. Like, one of the reasons why I'm bullish on America's like chances in the face of Trump is because I know for a fact that if our system was as weak as many other countries that exist in the world, as bad as things are now, it would be like 100 times worse if our institutions were not strong enough to.
If our system prevented what I'm advocating for, then I would probably say that our system would be able to stop the worst possible outcome that I would say we need to advocate for the things I'm advocating for. So it's kind of like a catch-22. If that it was a little, let me make it a little less word slurry, okay? If the system prevented me from prosecuting MAGA the way I think we need to stop them from what they're trying to do, I think the system, if it can hold that, could probably hold a complete upending of the system. So I would say, okay, well, if we can't do it because the system doesn't allow it, but somehow the system probably wouldn't also allow MAGA to completely destroy the system. So
that's my argument.
If that's the case, and if that's the case, then I'm willing to face the repercussions of me trying to do this. I mean, I'm not the politician doing it, but so maybe that's like a Lord Farquaad thing to say. But
I think that right now, one of the biggest crises that we face in this country is an epidemic of a lack of trust in the system itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be getting worse.
I think Trump winning is making it worse.
Yes, I agree. But he's not the only reason. But I think a necessary part of, like, if we are in a universe within the infinite multiverse where things do get better, a necessary step is instilling a sense of confidence that these systems are impartial. People have to feel like the application of the law is coming from an impartial enforcement mechanism.
Do you think they'll have more faith because you can show that they're impartial, or if you can show that the system is allowed to stop the people that erode it? Because I think going out and being impartial, and people say like, oh, Biden did this, but he was a poor, or Mitty was saying he was a poor communicator. I'm not confident that's what people are thirsty for. I think they're watching someone be lawless in their perception, and the system not containing him in the way that they think they should. They think he should be in jail.
That's a part of it. I think like for the Democratic base, like they see the system as a failure because it was not strong enough to just, unilaterally like deal with Trump and put him in jail. But for Republicans, their lack of faith, and they're going to have a totally different answer, and it's probably going to be divorced from reality. And then when you ask independents, they're going to have like a mishmash of different answers, and I don't think it's just like one thing or another. But the way that like the roadmap is really clear when we look at other countries that were on really shaky ground and then got on a better track. A necessary element of that is this notion of like an impartial application of the law. And if you do take extra,
pause there. Where are we seeing examples of this? I guess because maybe I'm just misinformed, and I'm very bad at history. Where are impartial, systems seen as restoring the institutional trust?
I mean, even take a look at like Nuremberg, right? Like the whole purpose of Nuremberg, the way it was structured. I mean, my understanding is that the Russians just wanted to line them up against the wall and just fucking murder them. But they even though like it was somewhat of a kangaroo court, they still made the effort of like demonstrating the value of equal protection under the law and like due process.
I knew it. I can't do the boss while I'm commentating. I can't do it. Okay, it's not possible. It's not possible to do the boss while I'm commentating. Why did you even try this? Why did I even do this? I'm gonna go to my
impartiality.
Didn't the people who got to select the prosecution and like the jurors was like incredibly biased, right? This I think Israel got to do it. I think.
No, but the point is that they were trying to. It was a show because they understood the value of the appearance of impartiality. But more recently, like Poland, I don't know much. I'm a little out of my depth, but my understanding was that Poland started to go down a really scary road of institutional capture, where one political party was thoroughly corrupting the judiciary, thoroughly corrupting the media landscape, and
back to RuneSpan? No. Why would I? RuneSpan is like 80,000, 100,000 XP an hour. That's tiny. That's like pennies of XP. That's
pro-democracy.
I would rather like make a bunch of money and do like 700,000 XP an hour making fucking necrorunes.
Coalition formed and was able to unseat that party, and then now the new coalition, they're actually taking steps to like unwind these like corrupt institutions, but they're still doing it in a way that is trying to be faithful to the spirit of like liberal democracy. But this is just, I mean, like this is a pretty I would.
Okay, that's enough. Okay, I'm sick and tired of Hutch Tent. Okay, I'm sick and tired of Hutch Tent. I'm done. Oh Lord.